Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Good Morning Azeroth, episode 56. It has been a long time, my friends. Quite a long time. 2 months since our last GMA. In true GMA fashion, there has to be something scuffed with the stream, so look for it and let us know so that we can fix it. I am joined by my fellow co-hosts and just great friends, man. I'm here with the boys. Defcamp, Melderon, Dunedain. How the hell are you guys?
Great.
Doing wonderful. Wonderful.
Happy to be back.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, indeed.
We missed
Happy
enough.
2021.
Can we tell them Happy Thanksgiving and everything too? I think we missed that with GMA as well.
Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all that good stuff. Happy holidays.
I think the stream is good. I can't see anything that's wrong, so that's
Yeah,
good thing.
this might be in the
Are the
start.
names right? The names are right?
Wow, the names are right too? The classes are right?
Yeah, classes
Yeah,
are right.
Melderon's not a paladin. Okay, no.
Maybe after 56 episodes, we finally know how to do a show. You love to see
You
it.
guys hype me up. Oh, dude. It
Yeah.
feels good to be back, boys. Feels good to be back.
It does.
That's right.
Defcamp brother, could you do the honors? Our GMA tradition. Most people
Yes.
maybe here don't even know about GMA at this point. Maybe we're all washed up. Who's been a GMA fan for a little bit here? Let us know. But in our tradition, Defcamp does something. If you're wearing headphones, if your volume's up really high, beware. This is your only warning. Defcamp, maybe
go.
pick a TBC buff and bless him. I don't know.
All right, here we go. First one of the year, 2021 for TBC, baby. Here we go. Good morning, Azeroth. We're back. We're back for
I don't think
2021.
that was good.
TBC's coming, baby.
Mhm.
It's coming.
And you didn't peek out at
I
the
need to
top because
snap
you got a new
now.
mic or something, man. I think we're all just slowly getting better at
Oh, really?
streaming.
I didn't say Mike.
Oh, same
And the
mic.
Snapple.
This
Nice.
stream to you is brought by.
All right, Snapple. That you really need that sponsor, Defcamp. I just recently started getting some sponsors for the first time, and I Defcamp needs the Snapple sponsorship, right?
Yeah, hit me
He
up.
does. Yeah, you got to hit them up.
Yeah.
That's
Snapple, bro.
Oh, baby. So
okay.
how's everybody doing?
Yeah, let's start there. Maybe Dunedain, brother. How are you?
Very good, really. When it comes to WoW, at least, but in life, everything's fine. We just had holiday. It's the last 2 days of holiday though in Belgium, so going back to work soon. But in WoW, everything is really great. I enjoy Phase 6 very much. I think since Phase 1, I didn't enjoy Classic as much. Talking raid specifically here. But we're gonna talk about Nax later. But I really, really think it's the best raid in Classic and maybe even forever. It's a really good raid, and the ambience is good. The bosses are good. It's fun. It's challenging. Everything is good, really. So yeah.
It's given a 5 out of 5 by Dunedain. There you go.
Hell yeah. Dunedain's a teacher, by the way, folks. So with all the COVID stuff and everything too, he's out there pretty much.
Fucking hero.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, really. After a holiday, you don't really look forward to going back, and then once you're there, you kind of want to keep going. So it's strange, really. But I get used to it pretty quickly again, I suppose. Yeah.
I always hated the time after the holidays, but now that we have some TBC possible stuff, I'm actually feeling pretty good. So
I don't know. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of rushed. I mean, like at one end, I guess
we haven't heard anything official yet. So
Yeah, well, it's the content creator thing. It's not so much player, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, it's like, I just got done we really put a lot into the whole next thing, and we're still putting a lot into it each week. 'Cause it's not like Dunedain said, it's not a pushover raid by any stretch of the imagination. Top guilds in the world are getting bad wipes on like Saffron and KT over and over again. It's like it's not an easy thing to do consistently, So, and I'm feeling the burn, Kargoz. I don't know about you, but like I'm just like fuck. There's so much I gotta get done. Like I want to be able to do what I did for Classic for TBC, but I was in between jobs then, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Personally, I'm just feeling like I really want to kind of get myself back on track, but it's not easy.
I mean, you're leading a guild. You're pretty much wearing a bunch of hats here, right? So like I couldn't even imagine making content and doing all that
just
too.
eating
It's just Yeah, just the Eagles hat, sure.
Yeah, just the
But
Eagles hat.
congratulations, full Nax clear. And I have a question for you. And Dunedain also, both of these guys, right? Defcamp and Melderon and Dunedain, they both successfully kept a classic guild together the whole way through. The entirety of a server lifecycle. I'm such a doomer when it comes to guild stuff. I always talk about it on stream, like, guilds always implode and all this. That's probably more impressive than even killing. I don't know. I mean, it depends.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Eden! Where my Eden boys at?
Shout out to Eden.
Yeah.
On Scarab. And Dunedain, what's your guild is?
Fellowship.
Fellowship. Yeah, it's
But it's on
tough.
Bloodfang, right?
It's on Bloodfang EU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right, Kargoz. It's not easy, bro. Yeah.
No, I could say, especially Phase 6 now, it's unbelievable how many guilds just fell apart in the last week.
Oh, yeah.
On the server, I think 25% of the guild just broke up, on the line side at least.
Yeah.
It's
Same
one of the
thing.
toughest, and I do understand why, and at the same time I don't really, because in my opinion this is the raid we've been waiting for. It's extremely fun to do, but many people seem to think it's too hard or they need to put too much time and gold in it. So it's probably too much time and gold.
I think that's the main thing, because like when you look at like how many wipes, like I used to be in a mythic raiding guilds and other expansion stuff like that, and you would have sometimes 200 wipes on a boss, right? And you would consume and go in on every fight, really. But the difference is in vanilla, right? Like every fight that you do is like 10 minutes of farming, or 100 gold, or this that you could put a pretty heavy amount of finite gold on that thing. But I think what Melderon and myself, and we always talk about how the leadership has been really good and stuff like that, but I think most of the kudos goes to like our core raiders who have just shown up every week, come world buffed, come with the consumes, come ready to go. We have a very kind of, it's motivating, right? So like I feel like we motivate each other really well. But I think when you look at the type of guild that we were before and how we've grown over the past year and a half, whatever, I think a lot of it's been due to us kind of being open about our expectations about like what we want to see in everyone, and then also using like positive reinforcement instead of like just shitting on people. A lot of like guilds do, if they just will call someone out, and just it's all about the way you talk to people too, I think. But I don't know, we've been really lucky, I think, too, as well, with the kind of people that we've had.
Just an observation from the outside looking in. You guys have come a long way from a guild where you definitely started off with, like, I think going into Classic, not expecting to go super, hardcore with it, but you guys have, there's always that thing they say, like, the most important thing with a guild is having everybody on the same page, but you guys kind of switch pages and it evolves over time, and now you guys are a pretty serious guild, looking at your accomplishments and the way you deal with things, so.
What I learned, and I didn't know this going in, Kargoz, is that you almost have to be to get through. So initially, I didn't do a lot of raiding on private servers. I did some, very, very minor. Just I wanted to get my feet wet because I wanted to do it all in Classic. In retail, you have multiple difficulties. You can be a casual guild and see all the content. In Classic, especially with Nax coming out, that was true up until now. AQ was a joke. AQ, I think we were talking about this before stream. AQ was easier than BWL and MC, in my opinion. There was more shit that can go wrong in MC and BWL than there can in AQ. And
I haven't heard that before, actually. Yeah.
AQ, dude, and especially from a healer perspective, AQ is like just so boring, right?
The hardest part about AQ is the trash after Twin M's.
Yeah, that's it.
My God. Yeah, delete that, and AQ is probably a good trade.
Yeah. So as soon as you go into Nax, you just realize, like, well, I'm really glad we made these changes going in, like, during BWL and AQ, because we wouldn't have made it. Like, it goes from, I wouldn't say it goes from, like, normal to mythic. That's not really what it is. You really can't compare it. Yeah. But the amount of dedication and the amount of, like, personal responsibility just goes up, like, non-linearly, honestly. Yeah. And if we didn't make those changes, I don't think a serious, I guess is the word I would use, serious guild would make it.
So it'd be very tough for like a casual guild to go and try to make it through. Next, so here's my question.
I want to jump
too.
in on that if I can.
Go for it.
Quickly. So I think we started with a little bit of the same idea when Classic started when it comes to guilds, and we kind of stuck with the idea. So we are still like the non really semi hardcore, more like to casual guild, but it comes down, I think, to us that we have a really very good core of players who stuck around with us. Like 25 people stuck around from the beginning till now, and we just kept recruiting. And people come and go, but the ones that come and go are usually the new ones. The core of 25 is really sticking together, and they are some really good players as well. But it's one of the hardest things, you're right, to have people on both sides of the spectrum, people bringing all the buffs and all the gold and everything needed. Then on the other hand, you have the really casual players, and it doesn't fit well. But I don't want to change it now so late into Classic. For TBC, we are probably going to change it because we are going to TBC, I think, as a guild.
Yes,
talk about that later. But it's very hard keeping a casual guild. I think or semi-hardcore to casual guild. It's kind of hard to define because you have those two spectra on both sides of the spectrum players, which it's so hard to handle.
You look at like, and it makes sense why Blizzard went from 40 man to 25 man, because there's just so much that goes on with trying to run a 40 man guild in this way, right? Like trying to have everyone responsible for their own actions, and doing it with 40 people compared to 25 is a lot easier. Also with the other changes that go on in TBC rating, like looking at like obviously we have the loot tokens now and stuff like that, but I think going into TBC from a vanilla 40-man raid, there's a lot of issues with that too. It's like how many people are going to come with us? Are we going to have to make 2 raid groups, or are we doing 1, or like what's the issue with that? But I think looking at how we're going to be raiding in TBC, the expectation now is that you're going to have fights where you're going to be wiping multiple times. That's going to happen. You're going to have fights that are going to be a little bit more difficult, that are going to have more mechanics and things like that. So it's a nice step into the realm of TBC, into like what we're going to be expecting. Using a lot more consumables, not having to worry about world buffs is going to be fucking huge. I cannot wait to not have to worry about world buffs. But the consumers are going to be that much more important, right? So you're going to see a lot of people who, I've always been on that mentality as like, every pull that I want to do, I wanted to make it like, put our most into it. Let's consume. Let's get a little bit further than we did last time. Even if we still wipe, at least we learned something from that wipe. And I think going into TBC, it's going to be a little bit more of that, a little bit more hardcore than it was in Vanilla WoW. But I think this is a good kind of step into that.
Yeah,
I fully agree.
I've been boosting some characters on Endless up because it's at the end of the server life cycle, and just getting my feet wet with all the classes in Endless. Ran some stuff last night, and I have so much to say on that front. What I'll tease at right now is that in TBC, it's almost like the developers did identify a lot of the pain points that diminished quality of life in Classic, and they went, yeah, let's just like make the quality of life a little bit better when it comes to the cost of consumables, like world buffs. We can talk about that later. But just to round out the Naxx stuff, as a question to you guys, because I haven't had any firsthand experience myself. Every single time new raid came out, you were wondering, Defcamp, Melderon, you were like, is Blizzard gonna tweak it and make it way harder? And each time it kind of just fell over, right? Like, you really think Naxx held up to its reputation?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, there's still a number obviously there's more people clearing it now than there was back then. That's clear, right? But again, that's because of knowledge of world buff stacking, knowledge of the mechanics, knowledge of what consumables you're going to need going in. It's probably one of the most well-designed raids I've ever seen, and I'm saying that from I think they got to a point where they're like, let's make every class, every role, kind of have a special thing they can do, and let's make everyone feel like they can make an impact into the raid. Mm-hmm. Let's make the mechanics challenging enough so that you have to do certain things. The fact that they put shield walls on the 4 horsemen so you can't burst them, even though you can. But back then you could have never done it, right? Like the fact that they did Loethid, where it's like, oh well, You think healing is a joke? Well, how about you can only heal once per minute, right?
Yeah.
Things like this where they
Where
just
they make
kind of thought outside the box.
priests have to
Super,
tank on
super
Vesuvius.
cool.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
that too.
yeah.
Super cool raid design. I think the mechanics are amazing. And like Dunedain said, I really enjoy going in there, even though it can be a pain in the ass wiping on staff or whatever. It's like, I don't know, man. Breath of fresh air, as far as I'm concerned, and it saved Classic, in my opinion, from being what people would consider a pushover.
Wow,
Yeah.
it saved Classic in your opinion. I love that, how you just commit to that hard-hitting statement. So, like,
Yeah,
even if
because I
you're
think
a retail Mythic Raider, right, and you look at Classic, and you're like, look at all these Classic Andy Dad gamers playing this old version of the game. Imagine raiding in Classic, PvE, Omega Low, all this, right? So, Classic gets a little bit more of a defense with Nax, right? Like, it's a serious raid.
And it's not just a little bit. Just the design of the raid, the music, the overall atmosphere, the 4 different wings, all the different styles you see. It's extremely well designed. The bosses are fun. Like I said, the music, the atmosphere, the screams of Thaddeus or that's Thaddeus, right? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
That's it. The first time I entered, I never went into Nax before, so the first time I entered and I heard that, I was amazed, really, and I still am, really. Even 4th time or 4th week, we are in it now. Is it the 4th week? I think
Yeah, 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
5th.
Yeah.
I
I still enjoy every minute of it, really. The one thing that makes it a little bit annoying to some is probably that it's really expensive, but that has nothing to do with the raid. It's more to do with how Classic is designed, or Vanilla WoW is designed, and not so much with the raid in itself. But it makes you wish that the other raids, the older raids, were a bit harder and a bit buffed.
Yeah.
Because there's some good stuff in there. Blackwing Lair is a nice designed raid. Q not so much, but Blackwing Lair definitely has some good stuff in there.
Let me be real for a sec, though. I think that there's still a huge difference between, what there is in a retail Mythic raid compared to.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Vanilla
comparing
Nax.
the two.
So let me just So, but so here's the thing, right? Never in Vanilla before has there been such a level of personal commitment between each individual player, right? Never in Vanilla before has there been, such a level of, preparation and things like that. So, you go into a Mythic raid and, you're expected to wipe on a boss maybe 100 times or something like that, right? That's not necessarily the case in Nax. The case in Nax is the amount of time and preparation that goes into it. They're 2 totally different animals. But someone who has, done Mythic raiding before absolutely has to look at Nax and respect that there is a huge level increase of difficulty from the raids previously in Vanilla WoW to Nax, and you really start to see the growth in how they started to change the raids and how the mechanics started to be a lot more personally looked at. So like you can be doing everything you have to do on Sephiron, and a mage forgets to decurse, right? And then Sephiron gets healed, and then someone dies. Same thing for Noth, right? Everyone's doing what they got to do. Someone forgets to decurse, the whole raid wipes, right? So like this is where you really start to see a lot more of this personal commitment and personal responsibility that has evolved so much into what Mythic raiding has become. There are less mechanics per encounter, but the mechanics mean so much more. Before, where world buffs could just bypass mechanics, you're not going to bypass Sephiron's mechanics unless you are really, you have at least a little bit of frost resistance and are DPSing really, really quickly, and have maybe 15 healers instead of 10 or whatever like that. So there are still ways to kind of cheese stuff, but it's a lot more difficult, and it takes more strategy and it takes a lot more effort and commitment. So you really start to see, and I'm sure, and of course, people who I'm sure a lot of us have done a lot of the raids in TBC, you start to see how that goes forward into TBC and then into Wrath and becomes more and more throughout the years. But Nax is like that first real step into, okay, this is it now. Like we're actually doing.
Yeah, Nax almost belongs in TBC, I believe. Just that sounds weird, but I guess when you've played through Classic and you get to this point, it almost feels like you're doing a more of a TBC-ish raid. Even like from the tanking perspective, tanks wearing more mitigation. It's a very different tanking meta. It's a different healing meta. It's CC. Yeah, CC is more important. it's really weird. Like it almost feels like it shouldn't be in classic.
I see.
Yeah, but it's a great raid, like 100%.
It's a beautiful raid. It's a stunning raid. Visually, doing the world first race with you two, Melderon, watching it, it brought back so many memories. Even though I only experienced it in Wrath, it's just sometimes I have a hard time even realizing that all that depth is in vanilla. You know, but the last thing I'll say, because we should move on to TBC stuff. But the last thing I'll say is as an observation, and I think when you think of the strengths of vanilla and what makes vanilla unique compared to future iterations of the game is really, it's like World of Consumable Craft, right? It's World of buffs and consumables and all these weird tools and items and mechanics out there that you can take just freely as an open platform to the world and bring in and be creative, right? And it was so cool that like on fights on KT, which is the final boss, the ultimate boss of vanilla, right? Yeah. You're using sticky glues, slumber sands, you're using, sleeping powder, whatever, all this magic dust, and it's like the beginning of the game is still impactful with the very end of the game. I don't know why that's so cool to me. It was like giving me nerd chills when I saw, he's mind controlling everybody, and people are tossing out their level 5 items, bag of marbles, whatever. It's just,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
it is, dude. You're absolutely right. It's amazing. Like I don't think anyone. I mean, maybe some people did. Some private server veterans probably knew that you could use those items, but like we didn't think about that when it first came out, and it was just. You're right. Classic is unique in that way, where it's like there is so much meta that people don't like think about initially that you could use in the game. Engineering all these little one-trick items that you can only get once per character. That you could like moist towelettes that I'm using on Saffron. Like
moist towelettes.
Yeah,
moist towelettes.
It's like that's why Classic will always be legendary, is because of that.
Yeah.
And what a great way to close up Classic WoW. You know what I mean? It's just such an awesome way to close it up. And,
it went out with a bang. Is how it's looking, right? So that's love to see it. You really do.
And I don't know if you saw the video Melderon made with us doing all the bosses, but like, he had at the end of like, the pictures of us killing Rag and Onyxia and then Neff and then Cthulhu and then, killing KT. And it's like, this is what we had set out to do when we talked about creating our own guild. This is what we had talked about doing with our friends, and like to be able to get there and, killing KT, whatever was the second week or whatever it was for us. And it was such an amazing moment. And now for me, it's like, okay, this is it. Like, here comes TBC. The fucking, this is what I've been waiting for the most, is like TBC is my favorite thing. And I just, it was a really nice way for me to close out even though it's not over yet, right? The chapter of Vanilla WoW, Classic WoW.
Yep.
It's strange how quick it went, but I want to say 2 more things on Nax. First, you know how I usually just like the green, the lushy zones and raids and environments in WoW, and I really dislike like the undead starting area and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, entering Nax is the first time I really understood why people like undead zones, and it made me want to play one even for a brief amount of time. The first time I really understood the whole dark and zombie and all that stuff, the very first time, really. So that's a big achievement. And then I really want to touch lightly on difference between Alliance and Horde in Nax, because we were talking a bit about it before the talk here. So I heard you say on stream, Defcamp, that you think Saffron is easier as a Alliance.
Well,
I don't know if I agree with that, man.
So from what a lot of the sentiment that people were saying in chat, that having like frost resistance aura, and obviously you have frost resistance totem, right? It moves with you. Yeah, it's a lot easier, I think, with the frost resistance aura. However, I do realize that you guys do lack on the raid DPS. However, shamans really do not add raid healing. Shamans really do not add to the raid healing as much as you think, because people are moving around so much. So it really comes down to the priests and druids that are doing most of the raid healing. So in that terms, I do think that probably the Alliance has a little bit better than the Horde, but it's still a really hard fight for either faction.
I really feel like we missed the AoE healing, but if you say shamans don't really help that much.
It's just that people are spread out a lot, and chain heals affect this. Well, during the ground phase, chain heals great.
Yeah.
During the air phase, it loses a little bit of its effectiveness. So that's the thing where we kind of feel shamans feel a little like what the hell are we doing right now? You know, but you can strategize around that.
I just thought it was cool that apparently, you know, TBC in Classic Horde has the higher potential, but in practice, Alliance are the guilds that are clearing it. Yeah, it's just a cool thing. But,
They have the safer. They have the they can fall back on things a lot more, right? Like you have shield, you have DI, you have you know, I mean, paladin blessings. Like if you lose all your world buffs, the fact that you still have kings is still fucking huge, right?
Yeah.
Like so I think like paladin is a little bit more of the safer, or horde is a little bit more of the you know, you can maybe, you know, burn something down a little bit quicker with all your world buffs and shit like that. But you know, I think it's something good, and then that of course only happened in Classic, and all that ends in TBC when, you know, we get paladins, the Alliance gets shamans, and everything's on the even playing field, which I think is, you know, is cool. But I can't wait to get the King's buff, man.
Speaking of awesome. TBC, let's segue into some TBC stuff, guys. So I mean, there's a lot of rumors, you know, hearsay, alleged leaks going around. BlizzCon line is in a handful of days here. I mean, it's still, I guess, 2 months away or so, a little under 2 months away.
Right.
But if you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to put them in. We'll see if we can answer or snag a few of them. But just to kick it off, Stay Safe released a video this past week saying Classic TBC release dates leaked. Really take this stuff with a grain of salt. You know, I'm no disrespect to Stay Safe, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a forum post and a cropped Discord message. But there's always that possibility that there could be some truth in it, right? And you see Nano's tweet popping up here. He's always tweeting about, you know, TBC rumors and stuff like that. So it's about that time. The TBC hype is in the air. You can feel it. It's tangible. And we're here for you to discuss all things TBC on this episode.
Oh, yeah, baby. Hell fucking yeah. Dude. I cannot fucking wait. Oh my god, I'm so hyped.
So here's
sorry.
Here's what his crop Discord message said, or that allegedly. It said TBC beta mid-February. TBC 2.0 pre-patch earmarked for April 13th, 14th. Release date May 4th. Does anybody flinch at this? Timing?
So that is official release, not beta, right? That's like beta is mid-February. I think the beta in mid-February sounds a little early to me.
How can they release the beta if they haven't announced the game yet? That's what I don't understand, right?
Well, it's probably gonna be announced on the BlizzCon online and then immediately have the beta.
So that means the beta is gonna be like right after the announcement.
No, when's the date of the BlizzCon thing?
It's February 19th through 21st, I think. And it's free for everybody, too, by the way, if anybody is concerned about paying for it or whatever. This year they're doing it for free, so.
Wait, for free and open or closed?
Yeah, no.
No, BlizzCon Online, sorry, is going to be free to watch. You know, in the past, they charge like $30 to watch it or something.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about the beta yet, Melderon.
No. My point is, it seems very challenging to announce the game and say the beta is also available right now.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean...
No, they did that once before. It wasn't for a big game. It was for Hearthstone. It was kind of a big game. For Hearthstone, they did that. They announced it on BlizzCon, and the day after it released.
Yeah, it's not unprecedented. Yeah. And I think that there is a possibility with them doing that, especially if they're going to try to release it by May, if that's correct, right? So potentially, say a beta is out by late February, right? So it's February, March, April, May. That's, you know, maybe 3.5 months or so to the launch, which is, you know, what you want in a beta, about 3 months or so. So if this is correct and they're saying May 3rd, you know, release, obviously I think a lot of this is, you know, taken with a grain of salt, and, you know, the dates are probably, you know, but I think a good thing is to look at Shadowlands and see what's going on with Shadowlands and seeing when the lulls and the content are there in Shadowlands. And potentially then we can look and see, okay, does this line up with a potential TBC?
I don't think they care about that, honestly, because they released Nax when Shadowlands released, pretty much.
But I think when you're talking about an actual release of like TBC, I think that they're gonna have to try to coincide that with
maybe
a lull in the content in Shadowlands, you know.
I mean, it's possible. I just feel like the beta's really. I just feel like that's really soon. I don't know.
I know for us content creators, it's a lot, because we're looking at, you know, I myself have a bunch of pre stuff you want to get out. You want to get out shaman stuff. There's a lot of work to be done.
Like, that's not why I think it's fast. I just think Hearthstone, okay. Hearthstone's a 2D card game, right? Like, I feel like it's hard to put out a beta of a game, like and especially a closed beta, being like, I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see. But
is it going to be closed, or was that not stated in the leak?
It wasn't, but I'm assuming it's going to be
So
closed.
my question is, how did they do it for Classic, right? I'm trying to think back. So they did a demo, like, what was it? Was that 2 years out or 1 year? I think it was 2 years out, wasn't it, the demo? Or was
the
it...
demo was...
One
So
year
the
out.
demo, if you remember, Kargoz, it was...
It was like 1
after
year.
the beta was already available, right? So there was
No.
a beta.
No.
Yes.
It was opposite.
The classic
the demo was
demo?
before the beta.
Demo
the demo
was
was
before the beta. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that was you had BlizzCon. Then the year after you had BlizzCon with the demo, and then half a year
Oh,
after
you're right.
you had the
Okay,
beta.
wait.
Yeah.
BlizzCon with the demo at BlizzCon, but wasn't there an invite? Didn't they have a demo that came out after the beta where everyone was invited to it?
No. Yeah,
Oh, you had
yeah,
stress
yeah,
test.
everyone
Yeah.
was invited to it. The stress test. Yeah.
The stress test. I'm sorry, I'm thinking
Yeah.
of something different then. Okay, yeah. So
So the
okay,
demo was open to everyone too.
so the
as long as
demo
you
was
had
first,
BlizzCon.
then there was.
Was
the
that
beta,
BlizzCon
right? It was
2018?
invite only beta.
BlizzCon 2018 was the demo, and then
No.
Yes.
Was there
Yeah.
a demo there?
yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
it was announced 2017, demo 2018.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, right, demo 2018. And
So-
then the beta came out after the demo, right?
Was there
Right.
another BlizzCon after the demo,
Yes.
before Classic,
Classic.
released? And maybe they did they announced the
Oh,
beta
wait,
right then.
was there?
There
No, because that was the
uh,
BlizzCon we went to. Kargoz.
Yeah, we went to that BlizzCon.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
But Classic
yeah,
was
that's
already
right.
out then. Yeah, Classic was already out then.
Yeah.
mhm. Shadowlands was announced.
So Classic must have
Yeah.
released in between, right? That
Yeah.
point, right?
We released
Yeah,
like
sorry.
August, right?
I have such a bad
August,
memory.
September.
Yeah,
so
August
and
16th.
BlizzCon was in December, whatever. Fuck. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Classic was already out. We were already doing MC when we were in BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. There was the demo, then the beta. So what they could potentially do is announce TBC at this virtual BlizzCon, have a demo ready for people at right after that BlizzCon, and then probably have a TBC beta within a couple weeks of that demo. But then the thing is, do they do what they did with Classic to have an invite-only beta? A lot of people were angry with that. If you guys remember, a lot of people were very angry
Mm-hmm.
that it was an invite-only beta. Melderon and I were lucky enough to get invited to it, but there was a lot of people that should have been invited to it that weren't, and like yourself included, right? I mean, there was a lot of weird shit that happened with the beta, and I think they should probably learn from that mistake and maybe just invite anyone who has a
I don't think they're going to though, bro.
do it,
If it was
but-
invite only, they should have done a closed beta IMO, but they're gonna do it the same way. I think that's where I'm putting my hat in that arena. They're
Yeah.
gonna invite their favorite content creators. I don't know if we'll be on the list. Hopefully, but at the same time, you also have to acknowledge that it is sort of unfair for a lot of people, like just watching, like why can't we play or whatever, and they have to
Yeah.
just get blue balls for a couple months watching the Blizzard
you
Boys
got
Club
in the
play.
beta, right? It just took a little while. It was
I finessed
But
my
that's-
way into the
yeah.
beta. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
But
Just like a lot of other people.
Yeah, and exactly. So the thing is, I feel like sometimes Blizzard doesn't have a good. Well, I feel like they didn't have a really good pulse on the Classic community before Classic came out. Hopefully, it's a little bit better now. There are a lot of content creators that aren't, like we focus on Classic, right? There are the big content creators that they play Classic, they play Shadowlands and all that. And those people, even though there are the people that are maybe more, it's suited for their invites and stuff like that, the people that I think are doing the most work, and if they want to invite, Asmongold and as all these people, right, they're going to put it out and promote it for them a lot. But the people that also do the most work, and like when Melderon gets invited to a beta, he does nothing but test, right? He tests. So there's the kind of people that you want to invite people that are going to promote it as well, but you also want to invite people that are going to do the testing, that are going to be writing the guides, going to do all of this kind of stuff as well. So I feel like they need to do a little bit of a better job to invite those people as well, not just the people to promote the game, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But-
I mean,
yeah.
you can have both, but
Yeah.
the thing is, like, I don't know. It's hard, right? Like, because one side of the marketing department's going to make, well, who's the biggest streamers? These people get invites, right? That's easy. So I think it's up to the rest of the crew to understand, like, how the point of a beta, right, is not, and this is shifted in gaming. But originally, the point of beta was the chest things, right? That's the point of a beta.
It's
right?
like 80% marketing, though, right? It's no longer
now
about the bugs that much. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't test that many bugs. I'm not like a pro bug tester or anything. That's why I probably shouldn't have been invited to the beta. But then in that case, a lot of other people shouldn't either. I reported whatever that popped up.
I like what Fresh Fox is. Go pop some Adderall, pretend Shadowlands is great, beta invite GG easy. Like,
there you go. This is the greatest game I've ever played. And then you'll get a beta
in their defense, though, man, and I know like we're a bit biased here, right? But Shadowlands has survived through that initial, that initial testing point where people usually turn on the expansion. It looks like it's sticking around. Like people seem to enjoy it. I don't know with TBC coming, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, I have really not done any. I played it for an hour.
Yeah.
And I gotta farm shit for Naxx. So I with Naxx being out, didn't have any time to really play Shadowlands. I will say that I am a little bit surprised, and I think that it is probably doing better than I initially thought. But I still feel like that time is still to come, Kargoz. So I feel like there's like the implementing. They're still in the honeymoon phase. I feel like with Shadowlands.
Yeah,
it's still early, right?
Very early.
I don't know. I feel like they survived through it, but we'll see what happens. I don't want to shell retail too hard here. But the one thing I will say is Project 30 is out. I don't know who started it or what it is. I don't know if anybody's heard it, but I'm throwing it out there. Just for those of you who are just dying to play TBC, maybe don't want to play private servers or whatever, they're doing this new thing where you can level on retail up to 30 and do all the TBC content. If you just type it into YouTube Project 30, I'm sure you can find all the details. But that's happening as we speak. And I know Crix rolled a tune there, and he was saying there's like 450 people online in the guild and stuff. So that's
pretty
definitely
cool.
something happening right now. If you want to.
So we're talking about TBC. So there's a lot of like preparation going on right now, right? So I know there's some people who are playing on undocumented servers, and I'm not one of them. So, but
that's a better representation of what the game's gonna be like, though.
It is. But like for me, so I, played very heavily in actual TBC, arena raiding and all that. I played some in private servers, right? But there are people right now that are like, playing really friggin' hard, that are doing 2v2, 3v3 arena. And I feel like what's going to happen is the game's going to launch. There's going to be these people who have been doing arena in TBC for like the past 2-3 years that are going to completely dominate.
Oh yeah, they are.
I'm a little bit afraid of that because I have not been practicing. So yeah, I wonder if they're going to implement some of the arena in the beta or not. The way they did it with Classic is they had like level 30 cap and level 40, right? You never even got to like the level cap or whatever. So, but I think part of the beta should be testing the PvP in arena, right? What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if it was just a very small closed beta with no streaming rights, and everything starts on the release date and everyone goes in fresh, really, because last time the beta didn't really help the hype, in my opinion. But that's a different.
That's a hot take though, Dunedain. I'm actually in your camp here, Dunedain. But seriously, I've talked about this on stream, and like literally nobody agrees with us. I swear to God. Like, I think to myself, if there wasn't an open beta and people didn't watch it for a couple months, and like everybody was truly on the same page, taking their first steps as a collective, as a whole, all of us together, streamers and non-streamers, everyone together, first steps into Elwyn. It'd be more of a magical moment, and maybe it'd be more of an explosive catalytic event, and it would maybe create more hype. But I'll tell you, 95% of people feel like just watching streamers play it for a bunch of months and not being able to play it themselves was better marketing, and maybe it is. I don't know.
I agree. I feel like some of the hype was lost because of the beta. I do. I feel like some of that magical, because Classic WoW was such a huge undertaking, right? It was the cries of all these people and the people who had worked on NOS and people like Nano and all this, and then to see it kind of taken over by not that group, right, was a little disheartening for a lot of people, right? Because you had so-called private server people, right, who were the ones who had been wanting this game to come out, and then it was like invited to people who've never even played Classic WoW, or people who weren't even that big of a part of it. And a lot of people got upset at that, and a lot of people saw these people playing it and were like, this isn't indicative of what I wanted and the people who I wanted to play, which I can understand, you know what I mean? And I think then seeing it out for 3 months, and then people who people were very angry that they were like, listen, I'm the person who's been wanting this to happen for so long. I didn't even get invited to beta, and they're inviting, Pokimane or whatever, to this beta. I'm just throwing a name out there or whatever, you know what I mean?
I want to know a hot take, though? Conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, and I'm usually not one to think. Maybe Blizzard did actually invite all the OGs that played real vanilla and had accounts back there, and then all the streamers just like bought it or like jugged and finessed their way in and stuff like that. No, you think they actually?
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I don't think they had the ability to contact those people, right? I don't know, but yeah, I mean it depends if someone advertised that they had it or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I see both sides of the coin, right? At the end of the day, Blizzard's a company who actually had
absolutely.
Who actually their stock prices have been actually doing very well right now, which is amazing, right?
Really?
Yeah, they were one of the top
really
five.
Well.
Top 5 increase, I believe, in stock prices over. It was crazy, like
out of all companies. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like they obviously know what they're doing more than I guess I gave them credit for a couple years ago, from a business perspective. And if you're going to get your game out there, the best way to do it is to give it to the biggest audiences, because they're going to want to play with those. They're going to want to play with their favorite streamers. Number one, number two, they're going to want to see it, and the best way for them to see that TBC is happening is to put it on the stream. I mean, but. You're right.
Yeah.
The core part of me doesn't agree with that, but at the same time, I can't argue with the business acumen there. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
if it's launched on release date and all streamers stream it on release date, you still see it and people still buy it. So don't really get the point there. But yeah, I'm not an economic mind. So.
There are some people that don't even know, that don't follow stuff like this, right? Like, they don't know the TBC's coming out.
No, but they will not know that when you have a beta streamed either. So, I mean...
I see what you're saying.
It's just going to be 2 months later that people will see it, but then it's still in time to buy the game, right?
Yeah.
I would
they will know if Asmongold's streaming it, right? I think they will know if... What's the other guy's name? Soda Pop and streaming it, right? Like stuff like that.
Probably.
So the other aspect of this news too, that we will want to say is there's this survey. A second survey went out to the community, and it was another TBC survey. So for anybody who's going, man, maybe Blizzard won't even do TBC, right? Maybe it's maybe they are not going to announce it, right? There was another survey that came out asking for more specifically whether you would want to play on a fresh start TBC realm, or would you like to continue your character onto TBC, or the real X factor here. I wasn't expecting this. I don't know if you guys were. Came out of left field. They were like, "What about a classic fresh? Would you play on a classic fresh? And if you would play on a classic fresh, would you play on it more, the same, or less, or concurrently with TBC?" So now there's this. I mean, to me, as a classic Andy, that's exciting that it gives those folks who really do prefer vanilla over all else. Even people in Onslaught, they're not going into TBC. They actually are going to stay.
Right.
Vanilla, give them something to look forward to. So that could be the first real discussion point here too, because we're going to hit this from very different perspectives. You guys have successful guilds that are still together at this point. Would you play on a fresh TBC server, or would you just continue your characters? What are the pros and cons in each? What bothers you in each respect? Maybe we can talk about that.
So I think realistically, the majority of people are, and I think this is obvious, right? I hope. I think the majority of people are going to continue their classic character to TBC, right? I think that's going to be the most popular. I went on a Reddit post where they did a copy of that post and did it so they could view the results, and I think 80%, based on about 10,000 results, 80% of people voted for that, for the TBC continuation of their characters. And which was really interesting, though, was that a large percent of, I think it was about 20%, wanted the fresh classic, and we're going to play on that. So that's 20% possibly of people are going to be playing, even if they're going to be playing on TBC as well, they're also interested in playing that fresh classic. And I think that's the best possible scenario, in my opinion, is to continue TBC characters, possibly fix the realms. Please Blizzard, fix the realms and not have 50,000 people all hoard on one server. Okay. Possibly have that, and then have some people being able to play Fresh Classic and also playing TBC if they want to, right? I think that is the best possible scenario. I think that's going to be the most likely scenario. I think it's going to be the most popular scenario.
I think that's what's going to happen, and I think that so, too. Yeah. So to answer your question, Kargoz, yeah, I'm definitely just. I'll come back to Classic eventually, 100%. But I'm taking a break from it. I'm going TBC 100%. I running a guild in Classic, getting world buffs every week, twice a week. It's just it gets to you, right? It really gets to you. Like maybe like hardcore would be an amazing thing to do once in a while, but like I am not going to go full bore in the Classic for a long time. Probably until after Wrath, to be honest. But I will probably have characters on a Classic realm that I would just tool around with. Maybe do some alliance this time. Maybe do something a little different. But I'm telling you, like the daily grind of getting world buffs and doing it's just. If they got rid of world buffs, that would be maybe a different story. Honestly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
if they were not to release TBC and just Classic, I would stick around in Classic and play Horde side this time. But I think they are gonna do both, like both of you said already. But I think they should also probably add like 1 or 2 fresh TBC servers for new people joining. Not necessarily for people who think that gold is a problem, because I feel like if you don't have gold now in vanilla, you will not have gold in TBC.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the new people, those that just want to start in TBC and those that didn't start yet, they might be better off on a fresh server, I suppose. So if you just do all those 3 things, everyone's going to be kind of happy, I suppose, and that's decent.
I think so too, Dunedain. Yeah. How about you, Kargoz?
Man, I am excited for Fresh. So there's a couple different
Fresh
things
Classic.
here. No, for Fresh Classic and Fresh TBC. I mean, Fresh Classic doesn't hit the same as it once did, though, for me. And you know why? It's because of the Hardcore Challenge. You get your own personalized mini Fresh with no stress whenever you want. And this type of Fresh, you don't have to deal with congested starting zones and, 10-man dungeon raiding and all. There's just the scuffage that comes inevitably with a Fresh server launch and new everything, right? But TBC... Fresh sounds so much fun, man. Getting to play with some of my best friends on the planet Earth.
You mean like a fresh option?
Just
like an option for people to play Fresh, or
just a brand new server, Defcamp, starting from level 1 together, right. New communities, new friends, new server narrative.
But not like forcing that on everyone, right? Like
no, not forcing it.
Yeah.
And they won't. Right. They won't. They won't. It's like what you said. The majority of players, so the majority of raiders and the majority of PvPers do not want Fresh. This is my theory on it. Let me know what you guys think. The reason why the PvPers don't want is that a lot of the hardcore PvPers, they can't stand leveling. Like, they hate leveling. They're trying to just arena. They want all their classes up to 60 so they can just grind it out, get the 70, and then just live in that ballpark. The raiders have put in time and sweat equity into building up their characters, and they want to just keep it going, and they have friends and a community. So, I mean, those are the two main buckets here. So they will turn these servers into TBC servers, like, I don't know, 95% chance, but they will hopefully have a couple TBC fresh servers. I've learned a lot from Classic. I'm curious to hear some of the lessons you guys have learned, like what didn't work out, what did work out. For me, a big takeaway as a streamer and all this is I do want to play on a PvE server. And it's not even the fact that I'm constantly getting ganked. It's just my headspace is different when I'm playing on a PvP server. Like, I just turn into a toxic asshole, kind of. Like, I don't know, like, I'm just trying to, like, multi-box and, like, we're just trying to assert as much dominance as possible on Skyrim, dueling outside of Blackrock Mountain, and literally just, like, yo, fuck you, Alliance, like, literally kill them on sight, to the point where they couldn't even try to fight back. And then that probably had some small role in, turning it into a PvE server. I don't know. I feel like I'm a better human if I'm on a PvE server, and I've said it on stream a lot. Like, back in the day when we were kids growing up, you couldn't even contact the other faction, right? They were just this mysterious and anonymous enemy that you just hated because they ganked you a million times. But in 2021, they're just one Discord DM away, one tweet away. You can easily contact these people, and it's a breeding ground for a lot of bad juju. But
I gotta admit though, that's the part of the game that I miss the most right now. On Skyrim is because, like, Skyrim unfortunately was a server that was already very horde dominated, and I feel like it really made the alliance situation even worse for them, right? Because you already had like 80% horde that was just hunting the rest of the alliance. But when I played on a server that was back in actual vanilla and back in the day, that was actually like I think it was 60% alliance, 40% horde. it was one of the most amazing things. That, like, just being like a rogue and being able to go and stealth into the opposite faction city and like having these really fun encounters. And like for me, that is such a huge part of the game. That's why I really hope that they kind of fix some of the server issues going into TBC. I think the fresh idea is a great idea. I think that would be, having a couple servers for fresh TBC, especially for new people coming in, would be great, right? But one of the biggest issues for me is that, a server that is supposed to be PvP that, should have this PvP feel to it doesn't, because of how, skewed the realms are. So if there was some way to fix that, I feel like that would be a very important thing. Because, so, like when I'm out, doing shit, like I like having those adventures and having those, you never know what's going to happen, kind of feel like, an alliance could come up and this, that, and the other. Like, to me, that's part of the game. I know a lot of people just don't have the time. They don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. But for me, I feel like that's part of the game is, having those PvP experiences out in the world. And I hope that Blizzard could do something to try and fix these servers that have 99% horde and, have, I think, way too many people. I think that's another thing, too, is a lot of these servers have way too many people than they should. The server health is not good, right? Because you have, 10,000 people or 15,000 people, all of which are horde, and then you have like the market is just, completely, items in the auction house are, way too much, or it's just completely gone off the board now. And I know that it would take some work for them to do it, but I feel like this is the time to do it. If they can do it, at least try, so
they can definitely look and see. Blizzard has a real precedent here, and they can try to see what went wrong with some of these servers, right? Like we've already talked about the Skyrim narrative. You guys in the chat, what went wrong on your servers if your server went to shit, right? Like for a lot of us, it's going to just be the timings of allowing server transfers that just like really snowballed out of control, right?
Couple with phase 2, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I will say, Defcamp, just on that note, is keep in mind in TBC, it's a much smaller area, the Outlands, kind of like. So
I know. Yeah,
if you're trying to stream snipe someone, or if you're trying to just even if they're not a streamer, if you're just trying to pick on somebody, you're a few seconds away on a flying mount to their location.
Yeah, well, the good thing is though is that you do have flying mounts, right? So you do have a way to get away from people. So like when I played back in TBC on I think it was Wildhammer and Bleeding Hollow, the two servers I was playing on, were two very Wildhammer was a little bit more alliance heavy. Bleeding Hollow was a little horde heavy, but we had a lot of world PvP on those servers.
Mm-hmm. And
a lot of the times, it was very easy to get away from it if you didn't want to get involved in it. You just get on your flying mount and fly away. But if you wanted to get involved with it, and especially during the leveling process, right, there was a lot of world PvP. And I think, that's something that people can either choose to engage with if you want to be on a PvP server or not, right? So if you don't want to have that issue, just like you said, Kargoz, you're going to play on a PvE server. I think I don't think if people don't want it to have world PvP, then don't play on a PvP server.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just that simple. But unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen now in TBC because of the state that we're in now. So, obviously, there are a lot of people who don't like it, and there are a lot of people who do. And the great part is that there are, there are choices for both. But now, people who play on a PvP server don't have that choice, in servers like ours, because it's been taken away, essentially. So,
Here's something that I've been dying to get your opinion on, guys. Type something in the chat if you're live. I've never seen somebody discuss this in this light before. I think this is going to be really interesting, chat. So, Defcamp, Dunedain, Melderon, you guys are pretty geared to the teeth right now. You've been leveling a lot, right? And I assume you're planning to just take the guild into TBC, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, let me set the stage here. From what I've been gathering, and I'm by no means a TBC big brain, but I'm learning a lot about the game with each week and talking with a lot of people who are. They have come to kind of a consensus. So you would assume that the top, TBC big brains would want to continue their characters in, right? As a generalization, they want to start fresh. And their take on this is that if you start into TBC with a zillion gold and a bunch of gear, you're cutting out. Let's be a little bit hyperbolic here, just for dramatic effect. You're cutting out 30% of the content, or maybe 35, maybe 40% of the content. Now I'm wondering, does that bother you, or does that not bother you at all? Maybe you honestly couldn't care less, and just let's unravel that.
Where's that 30% coming from, though? Do you mean the leveling process?
No, not the leveling process. No.
gearing up, I suppose. Professions.
I'm
You
talking.
still have to gear up, and I mean, a lot of the gear that you have in vanilla is going to be gone by the time you're raiding. And...
No, but it's true. Blacksmithing, for example, gives bis weapons. So if you have a lot of gold, you can just simply craft them. Also, I guess you guys did it, but I stacked up on mats for jewelry, and I stacked up on mats already for getting my professions to 350 skill with just all
not so much.
So
no, I haven't.
those
really.
things, I guess plenty of things did. Plenty of people did that, and it's true that it kind of takes away a bit of the experience.
I would argue that
actually, before you respond,
exactly,
let me say some things though.
And it allows me to actually play more of the game that I want to play, which is PvP and raiding.
Let me say certain things though, just so you can keep in mind when you respond to it, right? Because you might be wondering how is the content cut out, right? And this is my low IQ take on it. Like, so as soon as we get into TBC, people are buying the flying mounts immediately, right? As soon as they ding 70, they're going to be able to clear Karazhan extremely rapidly because they're going to be in full Nax gear. And as Ale said so eloquently, the thing about, like, the vanilla gear versus TBC gear is you still have all the broad strokes needed to get into a raid and complete it. You're just missing a boatload of stats that are lumped on top. You're missing a ton of int, you're missing a ton of stem. But when it comes to like hit rating, crit rating, defense, you can still be in a serviceable position with vanilla gear. So you're talking about just clearing the raids at a much more rapid pace. And then as soon as people get to 70, we're talking full spell strike, which is like the caster epic crafted, right? Or BOEs, as well as the maces and the swords for all the melees. And like by just jumping to that level of power, you know, you're cutting out a big swath of the content.
Yeah.
But it was like that for a lot of people in actual TBC, right? So a lot of people had even though they didn't have Nax gear, right? Mm-hmm. And here's a big argument against that is like you have a lot of people who like I had pretty decent gear when I leveled up from 60 to 70. A lot of that gear I had kept with me until I hit 70. A lot of people already had their flying mount. A lot of people have. Obviously, we're going to see more of that. But a big argument is we're not playing the game as long as we did back then, right? Like, vanilla classic WoW was out, maybe a little bit more than half the time that actual vanilla. So if you're able to do that stuff a little bit quicker...
No, it's not that dynamic. It's not that bad.
Well,
no, it's like a month or two behind.
So no. Classic WoW was out from 2004 to the end of 2006. So 2 years. We've had about it. I would say that So we're losing out on about six months or so or more of.
If we started 1.12.
I understand that, but and that's the thing. We're going to be starting all that way in TBC, so I'd rather have a little bit of a step ahead, knowing that there's going to be less time total in TBC than there was in actual TBC. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So if I can not have to worry about a lot of that busy work stuff, or even some of it, so I can actually play the game that I want to play, which is end game PvP and PvE, and raiding and stuff like that. To me, that's where I want to be. I'd rather be there.
Honestly, but what Kargoz is saying is also you skip a little bit of the dungeon gearing process, and one of gearing in Karazhan and stuff is going to be less exciting if you have full tier 3.
Right? For most classes, all Karazhan is going to be replacing all of tier 3, unless there's some items that are. No, I mean the mace from KT gives 200 and some spell power. Light's Justice gives like 400. It's like a 200 bonus healing upgrade. Okay. It's huge.
But I'm not entirely sure, but like set bonuses of tier 3.
So a lot of them get nerfed. A lot of them get nerfed in PvC. Yeah.
So all it does is make dungeon gear less valuable.
Well, it makes it cuts out the dungeon gear.
Dungeon gear is going to still be better than tier 3. So like anything from heroic dungeons pretty much is going to be better than tier 3.
Mm-hmm. The dungeon gearing is one of my favorite parts. So if that's not. If that's
it's not going to be as effective as much as I think, because you still have to do the regular dungeons to get attuned to the heroic dungeons, which you're going to be getting the gear from, right? So
I'm switching to elemental PvC, right? My rest of gear is going to be thrown out, right? Like I have to get hold of gear set. So a lot of people may not be playing the same spec. Sorry, a lot of people aren't playing the same class, but then even more people are switching spec. Like look at all the warriors, right? Warriors are the most populated class in classic WoW by far, and they're going to go from 15 raid spots, let's say, to 2, maybe 1. So I think there's a lot less carryover than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is
probably true.
That's a really
There
good
are
point,
some
bro.
items that are really good.
That's a really
Like,
good point, though. What Melderon, chat, you really picking up what he's putting down? Yeah, like the Warrior's the most popular class. Sorry if I'm just like reiterating it, man, but I just want to drive it home.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the most geared to the teeth, sweatiest gamers rolling Warriors and Rogues. You know, the brown and yellow boys. And a lot of them are going to be pivoting out to play Warlock and Hunter, you know, to match the flavor of the month. So they're going to be losing a lot of their gear and stuff like that. And the whole meta shifts, right? So a lot of people are going to be starting over again. So it may not that will mitigate into that as well.
I think a lot of people are. I think a lot more than we think are going to be. Because like looking at our guild, there's only like 3 or 4 people that are staying the same class.
Yeah, what are you guys planning to do?
I'm Holy Priest all the way, baby. 100%.
Elemental Shaman. Yeah.
I'm sticking Paladin most likely, but probably Red Paladin instead of Holy.
There you go. So
Yeah,
I'm
there
the
you
only
go.
one.
You got a whole new gear set, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to
So
play
that's what I'm
Hunter.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
Were you playing
play
Kargoz?
Kargoz?
I'm playing Hunter or Lock. I'm not sure again, but I'm probably going to go
They're
Hunter
both
this
so
time.
good in TBC.
Yeah, I'm playing a Hunter right now. They slap, dude. And Warlock, oh man, I don't know.
So Kargoz, is your main going to be on a PvE server as well? Is that your plan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The way I look at it is this, right? And say what you will, man. On a PvE server, you can do more cool custom things too, because you just have less capacity for people to try to like rain on your parade, right? Like, and you can still try to grief people on a PvE server, and I'm talking in terms of like if you're trying to set up if you're trying to treat the world like a sandbox and do some kind of like custom event, whether it's like a hardcore cup or whatever anyone can dream up, right? Doing it on a PvE server is giving you a more like controlled setting. And that you can still, we're living in the world of cross-realm BGs, right? So you can still both arena against the best of the best, do BGs against the best of the best, and still play the game to whatever degree you want to play.
Yeah, I think it's all down to personal preference with that. And I think absolutely, what you want out of the game is what you should get. Like, I don't think people who want, if people don't want to deal with, getting ganked and shit like that, and like, just don't play on a PvP server. It's that simple. And I think PvE servers are becoming a lot more popular than they were, in my opinion. I think you're starting to see a lot more people play on PvE servers, especially in vanilla WoW, where time is limited and you don't want to worry about getting ganked all the time and shit and getting world buffs dispelled. In vanilla WoW, it was a lot of people just like getting sick of that and going to PvE servers.
So it seems like you guys didn't flinch at the idea of going in to TBC, and you made some really good points here about why it won't be so bad. And that,
I want to counter argue my argument though, because even though I want to provide both sides of the argument, right? So the other thing is that GDKPs are super popular, and they're still going on a lot. So people are gearing out alts already. So what I'm saying is like, even though people are switching a lot, I think people are already starting that process. Maybe not in Naxx, because like it's hard to rate on your non-main in Naxx, right? But there are definitely people who are getting gear ready and money ready and consumables ready, and so there is a basis to your argument, Kargoz. I just think won't be as all encompassing as maybe it could be, but it's definitely happening though. Like I think people are already like I have my shaman, right? Obviously. I have a hunter at 60, I have a druid at 60, I have a warrior at 60, and I have a mage at like 50 something, right? So I already have my farmers are already built. They already have their gear, like not their gear, but they're already level 60. They already have the money for their mounts. They already have so this is already done. Mm-hmm. So there is a point you're making, 100%. But like how many people have 560s? I don't know.
And how many people have most of our guild people have under 2,000 gold. Like there's the amount of people that have a lot of gold are a lot less than I think you would think.
A lot of people. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too. Here's the aspect of fresh versus established that we haven't talked about yet too. And this might phase you more than the whole gearing aspect of it. So, if you just continue your characters on to TBC, you are inheriting the legacy baggage of all the scuffage on that server. You're inheriting the scuffed economy and stuff, and 9 million lotuses and arcane crystals and stuff as a result of being able to layer hop even within instances of software multi-boxing, which has now been outlawed by Blizzard, of the idea of pretty much all that is coming with you into the next server, and then also Scarum, which is the server they play on, is already kind of like a Horde PvE server, even though it's a PvP server, right? Because the Alliance population is so low and non-existent. You're carrying that into TBC. Like, I don't think that's gonna change, man. You think a bunch of Alliance is gonna all of a sudden randomly transfer to Scarum? Not in TBC.
Well,
If anything, they're saying that
I'm wondering if they're gonna even allow Scarum to continue.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother
So
topic.
I don't know how they're
about.
gonna do it. I don't know how they're gonna do it. Are they gonna do? I guess we don't know the answers to that question yet. If I knew, then I'd be like, well, you have a good point. Like, but I don't know if they're going to do transfers. Like, I don't know how it's.
What if they did? What if they said you
thing
could just continue under Scarum and you can only transfer?
Then we probably try. Maybe we probably think very heavily about transferring on another server. Yeah.
You could try, but honestly, World PvP is like, I'm with you, Kargoz. Like, it's not that big of a deal anymore for me. Like, World PvP and TBC is already trash, in my opinion. I've been remembering back then and playing on private servers. Like, you'd have someone fly into Thraumar and start ganking people. Then you'd fly there and kill them. Then you'd just go.
Isle of Kel'Thanasto, brother. Isle of Kel. Well, it doesn't come out for a while probably because it's Sunwell, but I have some of the best memories in that place. But again, I'm playing on a PvP server. But you know what I'm talking about, right? The Blood Elf Island where everybody's on the ground mounts.
Yeah, so that's
Isle of Kel'Thanasto, there's PvP there for sure. Yeah, because you couldn't fly there, 100%. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
pretty fun.
But so
Which is a lot of
you're
fun.
right. Yeah. But I'm kind of over World PvP too, to be honest. I enjoy. I'm not saying I like PvP over PvE. I do. I like the fact that you can kill someone, but I'm like kind of like whatever anymore with it. Like, so, I mean, it would suck not having Alliance on Scarum, but I think there's gonna be a lot of servers with a lot less Alliance because of the propagated propaganda that like Alliance is shit in TBC, which
is bullshit. Yeah.
Do you think because
and
part
it's
of
like
it is because of Paladin Seal of Blood, right? Do you think that it's
I think that's the linchpin, and everyone just holds on to that. That's one of them. I think Blood Fury is one. I think that.
Do you think it's necessary
If you ask
to
anybody
give Seal of Blood to Alliance, or is that
that's
too
what I'm
far
saying.
From
if I ask a lot of the big brains, Dunedain, like people who are seasoned pally mains and stuff, they actually want Seal of Blood on both sides. Like they don't shy away from it. They're like, no, fuck it. Like you really need Seal of Blood on both sides.
That's the one thing where I actually agree that it's actually unfair. Like I do agree that I do agree it's unfair.
What would Kevin Jordan say though? What would
like,
Kevin
it really
Jordan
isn't. It's only PvE, right? First of all.
No, it's PvP also. It's PvP also.
Seal of Blood is not good in PvP.
Well, it's for breaking CCs and stuff, man. It's like a Shadow of Death.
It's okay, but like in an arena, you're not going to be using it a lot, right?
Well,
like, you're like majority a lot of the time. Not to mention that, like okay, so you have one red paladin in a raid in PvE, right? And I think. Yeah. I think that it's people use it way more as a deal than it really like is. Like it's not that big of a deal as people think it is.
Here's why I think it is a big deal, because I was with you a few weeks ago, Defcamp. I actually want to be an Alliance bloomer, and I'm playing Alliance probably myself come TBC. I really want to be an Alliance.
Is amazing in TBC.
Bloom. I want to be Defcamp. But unfortunately, the more and more I'm learning about it, the more and more of a doomer I'm becoming about Alliance. And they're still fine. It's not like they're not serviceable. They're fine, right? But here's the thing you have to understand about Paladins in TBC. Holy is no longer the best spec they bring to the table, right? Holy, if anything, struggles the most out of the three specs. The spec that shines the brightest in a TBC environment for Paladins is Retribution. Believe it or not, it's you would say, but they're comparable, right? But a lot of people would say Retribution, right? So when you think about being a Paladin, and there's a lot of people going to want to be playing Paladins in TBC, right? They want to do Arena, and think about Prot Pally, where's their place in Arena, right? So this may skew it a little bit for you, Defcamp, right? You're not playing Prot Pally in Arena, unless maybe in fives or some crazy shit, I don't know. But you're going to want to play as Ret, because Holy is the weakest of the three specs. So if you want to PvP as a Paladin, you're really going to be really, really encouraged to play a Blood Elf, because Ret is going to be the best spec you're bringing to the table. What say you?
I agree. The only reason to bring a Holy Paladin healer is because of the blessings.
But you could be a Prot Pally tank PvE alliance and then PvP as a Red Pally. Like that's what I would do.
Inconvenient though.
It's a little inconvenient, but at the same time, okay. So another thing that people like love to just pass up on is how good fucking prep is in Premeditation. What the fuck it's called?
Perception.
Meditation. Perception.
Arena. Perception.
Mm-hmm.
Like perception. So think about it for a second, guys. Like
Chastise is good
some
too.
of the Chastise is amazing as well, but some of the best comps in Arena are, like RMP. You have a lot of undead with Will of Forsaken, right? If you get an opener and don't allow the rogue to get a sap in the opener, you are you are making the fights a lot more into your favor. If you have a rogue druid and you're able to see them and get them out of stealth before the rogue can sap, stuff like that, like most really high end really good PvPers are going to go human rogue or human to get perception, and I think that is more. I actually think that's more impactful and should be talked about more than like this whole Sealed Blood thing, right? Because perception.
Well, you don't have to do.
Here's the thing. For that niche, I agree with you. Dwarf Priest, Human Rogue is pretty much S tier comp. It's up there with the best of the best.
Absolutely.
You can reach the best, but that is actually a small microcosm. I do believe, and this is just a gut feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, if I'm batshit crazy, chime in here, but most people play WoW because they enjoy raiding and getting gear and doing all that, right? Like, they like to do big damage. They like to clear the content. That, I think, is the most popular thing when it comes to WoW.
I think Arena won't be as big as it was back then.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's
in any iteration, right?
all the best are going to be in retail.
So
I believe.
When you look at Arena, yes, there's actually a lot more balance than people think when it comes to specifically the Arena with Alliance racials. I'm very impressed, right? You have Chastise, you have that Symbol of Hope shit, you have a lot that you can enjoy on the Alliance side. But on the PvE side, the content is going to be less difficult than it is on the private servers. The private servers are tuned sometimes 2x, 2.5x harder than the original, alleged values, right? So once we get into a classic environment, it's going to be even more zug-zug. The stuff is going to be falling over even easier than on the private servers. So racials that generate just more damage are going to be even better in that light, right? So you look at on the PvE side of things, the things that are really great for Alliance would be, like the Draenei racial, the free heal, the Symbol of Hope, all this type of stuff. But if stuff is just falling over, everyone's going to roll a zug-zug orc, man. I don't know. So
Blood Fury is fucking
Blood
huge.
Fury is the fact that it goes for spell damage as well, because obviously there's a lot more
And you know how people are. Everyone wants to be the top. People want that 1% more damage, whatever it is. I'm not saying it's 1%. I don't know what it is, but it's like it's minuscule. It's not gonna kill the boss, right? You're not gonna die on the boss if you're Alliance. The thing is, people want to be able to rank highest, and that's why Blood Fury and things like Seal Blood, even though there's gonna be one rep paladin in most raids.
Right.
People feel bad about it, and I get it.
I agree. Yeah. And I think I think Blood Fury is 10 times more impactful than what the Seal Blood.
Way worse than
but I feel like Seal Blood gets talked about way more than Blood Fury.
No, it affects more classes, Dunedain, not just one, right?
Yeah.
So Blood Fury affects warlocks. It affects
hunters.
I guess
it affects hunters.
Yeah.
If you're playing as a hunter on the Alliance side, you're accepting the fact that you lose like a 300 attack power buff on a 2-minute cooldown, not a 3-minute cooldown, a 2-minute cooldown plus 5% damage on your pet. Every pull of your everything that you kill, you just think about that in the back of your mind. Man, it'd be really nice right about now to have about a 300 attack power steroid that I could use in my pet, which is actually deals a lot of damage.
Yeah.
For me, doing 5% more damage, that's significant, man.
It's huge, yeah.
So,
It's a little. It's all the little things together, really.
You have to look at it all together.
Yeah, many people just want to play Horde because you have Blood Elves now, and we have been looking at the Blood Elf leveling zone for over an hour now. And there's a reason you're playing this and you're not playing Draenei. Even though Draenei is amazing, but it's amazing, and I like Draenei Paladins. I think it's really nice.
And Draenei females.
There's nothing wrong with Draenei, in my opinion, but Blood Elves are just... Well, not everyone, but Alliance players specifically like Blood Elf zones, I think. So some Alliance players will just go and make a Blood Elf, and on top of that you have the Seal of Blood thing, and then you have on top of that that everyone is already playing Horde from Classic.
True.
And all those things together just make it really imbalanced.
Ask me a month ago, guys, I would be the biggest bloomer trying to go to the community like, guys, let's play Alliance together. There's a lot to love in Alliance, and there still is. But unfortunately, the more and more I'm learning, I'm really seeing some issues here, folks. Like, to the point, maybe, I don't know if Blizzard wants, they got to do a faction queue or something. The other big thing, man, on the PvP side, Defcamp, a lot of people are going to tell you S tier class in TBC PvP is the Druid. The Druid is the absolute nuts.
Yeah.
You put a Druid with any other class, and you're probably going to be pretty damn serviceable, right? And
Absolutely.
imagine playing a Druid with no War Stomp. Imagine. I did it on Endless myself.
I know,
Every single
I know.
arena game,
Yeah.
maybe because I was under geared, I was like, man, how is this class even playable without War Stomp? It is. You'll find really good
War
big brain.
Stomp Cyclone is so fucking strong, dude. I mean, it's huge. And here's the thing. I think that, you know, overall, right, there are things that are going to make a lot of people look towards Horde and say, you know, the Horde has this, Horde has that. I still think that a lot of the best players when it comes to in the arena will probably predominantly be a lot of the Alliance. So as you see, as it was back in TBC, some of the best, you know, the top line were you know, humans, the people that had perception, stuff like that. But overall, right, when you're looking at like the middle of the pack people, most of them are going to want to play, you know, Undead to have Will of Forsaken, or Orc for Stun Resist and for Blood Fury, and you know, people love Arcane Torrent, right? And so like when it comes to like the middle of the pack and the average player, people can rely on that stuff a little bit more and say, this is, you know, this makes that better, this makes that better. You're going to have probably more Alliance at that top or high echelon. But yeah, I do 100% agree that I think that there is an issue, but I think the way to fix that, I don't think is to level out the playing field and just make the same for everything. I think it's to involve possibly some kind of faction queue or something like that, or potential other benefits that you could get as playing Alliance where you wouldn't have as Horde.
That's
right?
what that's what the private servers did, Defcamp. You know what they did? Guess what they did?
I know they gave them. I played on there too. They gave them free mounts. They gave them increased experience.
5x experience rate.
That's not necessary. I think that's I would.
I think that's too far.
I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick playing Alliance no matter what, really.
Yeah.
But honestly, one thing that I like about Red Paladin as Alliance is that it's not as theory crafted as the one for Horde. If I look at guides for Red Paladin, it's always considering Seal of Blood is the seal you use, and it's very hard to find stuff on Alliance Paladins. So if you want to have like the more real, old school, fresh experience, you should probably go play an Alliance Paladin and figure it out for yourself, because that's what I'm planning to do. And I think that's going to be quite interesting. See how that goes and what items are good, what are bad. So yeah, I think just play whatever you like most.
Dunedain the Bloomer, man. I'll drink to that. I mean, the thing is too.
We made fun of Classic big time, right? Like in retrospect, we made fun of Classic. I think going into it, saying how imbalanced it was, but when you actually look at the faction balance, it's actually perfect, and here's why.
Oh yeah, better than TBC. I'm agree. Sorry, go for it. But I'm excited for you to talk on this.
Big Zugzuggers, right? They don't give a fuck about blessings, right? They want to have Wind Fury, and they want to have the most damage possible. So they'll go Horde, even knowing that it's a harder rating environment in most situations, because they get to have the biggest numbers, right? And Horde has shamans, and you know, it's a totally different experience. Whereas the more structurally minded people will go Wind Fury. Those warriors will go Alliance because they know that Alliance maybe has a better, more white protection, more things like that. And then in PvP, people would always meme and say, "Well, Horde's the best," right? In PvP, that's not true. Look at Warsong Gulch. Alliance are much better in Warsong Gulch than because of Paladins.
Pure War.
Whereas Basin, Horde reigns supreme. We all know that AV is more of a Horde thing, but there was a while there where Alliance were doing a lot better. And we made fun of Classic faction balance, and it's just not there.
It's not. Melderon is speaking the truth right now, chat. Listen up. I've asked some of the big brains of TBC. You ask them, is TBC a balanced game? I've verbatim asked them that, Melderon. You know what they said? They said, fuck no. They're like, it's not balanced. Like, shamans are in super high demand. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's really not that balanced at TBC. I love TBC. I'm super excited for it, right? But those are some wise words you're saying, Melderon, in terms of, you know, it's a beautiful thing that we get to Naxxramas, and that, like I said before, Horde have a higher potential, and a lot of these theory crafters and stuff will agree that they have the highest, potential if played perfectly. Yeah. But Alliance in practice is like 90-10 when it comes to completing next.
If the other faction got the shaman, you would think, since the factions are getting all the classes now, it would be fine, but it's not.
Well,
that's the perception that, because Blood Fury is 100% going to be better. You're going to see on Warcraft logs, you're going to see most all the highest warlocks, all the highest
and hunters
are going to be orc. right?
Yeah.
It's going to be. There's no way it's not going to.
So
yeah,
I think one thing that TBC what they fixed was making a lot of the so-called meme classes and stuff like that more suitable, right? So like you have Shadow Priests that can do much more damage now. They're able to give mana back to the raid, and so they fixed a lot of the outlier issues, right? Like Resto Druids are in a much better place. Holy Priests are able to raid heal like a god. So what they did is they brought a lot of the PvE stuff closer together in that term, right? In terms of making Shadow Priests more sustainable. Even giving Boom comes more damage. Stuff like that, right? Making hunters. So they brought a little bit that stuff close together, especially with healing and that. But when it came to looking at racials, we're going to give everyone Fear Ward, right, for priests. But still, we're going to make sure that only undead have Devouring Plague, and and we're going to give. So they tried to give, I think, a little bit of flavor to things as well, right? So because they knew they were going to be trying to balance some things, but they also wanted to keep that flavor that they had in vanilla for certain classes and certain specs and certain races. And I feel like a lot of it went towards the Horde when they looked at things like when you look at PvE, when you look at some things in PvP. Because I feel like the Alliance, always had that, and especially back in the day, had a little bit more of more people played Alliance back in the day than Horde, right? That was just how it was back then. A lot of people played Human, a lot of people played this, so I feel like they wanted to add a little bit more flavor and stuff to things. But all in all, I do think when you look at how the raids are structured and how it is, you can see where they tried to balance things, right? But then you can also see how those balancings open the door to more issues, right? Because we're going to bring Alliance shamans, we're going to bring Horde paladins, but making that little difference where Seal of Blood, right, creates this huge door now for people to say, I want to play Horde and this, that, and the other. So it's like they try to fix some things. They did fix some things. They absolutely did.
They didn't foresee it would be a problem.
You know what they need to do, bro?
Yeah.
This is one thing they need to do, maybe. If for the Warcraft logs, because people, let's be honest here, right? Let's be honest. People care about Warcraft logs. On the raiding side of things, you guys are raiders, right? I mean, I don't think you guys care about it as much as some other people. Like, some people have, like, an unhealthy obsession about it, but it is something, it's just a tool as a raid leader, too, to look at, right? And improve, and it gives you something to try to improve and work, just progress on, right? Like, your own performance and stuff, right? Imagine if they differentiated Alliance and Horde parses, like, and made them an apple and an orange, truly. So you're, if you're an Alliance raid, you're only even showing up with other Alliance raids, and they really tried to, like, separate them. That'd be one small thing, I would say. And the other thing I want to say, sorry, kind of unrelated, but it may sound like we're being doomers on a lot of the TBC stuff. TBC, folks, is so freaking fun that I can't find the words to even explain it to you right now. I may or may not be playing on some servers at the moment. It's possible, but dude, your wires are about to get crossed. TBC, so much quality. Maybe we can talk about that too. Just like that's a more positive note. Like what improves in TBC in order to make it so fun?
So much, man.
There's a lot. The consumes. I go to the auction house, or wait, it may or may not be. If you go, or somebody might go to the auction house. You go look up flasks. Guess how much a flask costs in TBC, guys?
I don't know, what, 20 gold?
Yeah, like 10, 20 gold.
Yeah.
2 hours. Guess how much like an elixir costs? Like, just like a battle or a guardian elixir. Like 5 gold, 3 gold, something like that. Best food, and the food buff lasts 30 minutes, not 10 minutes. And you can buy a fat stack of Talbuk, venison, Talbuk steak or whatever for 10 gold or something, right? That's one small aspect of it. Anybody have anything else here that you think they improve in TBC that makes it just so much more fun in practice?
Biggest thing for me is world buffs. Like, fuck world buffs, dude. I hate them, right? So it's like, the fact that I'm able to play my main character whenever I want, boom, right there. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
What?
Like,
that's the role buffs thing is extremely annoying for us as guilds specifically. If we lose them, everyone loses, like, their positivity, and everyone loses morale, and it's just not good for the raid and for the game overall. I'd rather not go with any raid world buffs, but then that's annoying as well. So I just want them out of the game, and you don't have that annoying thing of losing morale anymore.
Type some hype in the chat if you're excited to not have to deal with world buffs anymore, chat. I'm sure there's going to be a sea of hearts or something like that.
That class design was the very best in TBC. So
agree.
that's
Yes,
what
I agree
makes
as well.
TBC, in my opinion, at least comparable to Classic, if not better.
Defcamp,
I
guess how much a
about this,
guess how much
Kargoz.
guess how much a fat stack of mana potions. As a priest, you might appreciate this.
Oh,
Guess
I
how
know,
much a
there's so
fat
much
stack
super,
of
How much
I
is
think
a
they're
stack going
called
for on that server right now?
super mana potions.
Superior,
Super.
super, yeah.
It's like 5 gold or something for like a stack
That's
of 5.
amazing.
Isn't
So,
that?
Kargoz, you know what? As someone who levels a lot, you might appreciate this as well, especially in the newer zones. Like we're looking at the Ghostlands right now, and then when you get into, I love questing in fucking PvC. You know why? Quest hubs, right? You get like 10, 15 quests from one zone. You go out there, you do all the quests, you come back, you turn them all in together. How great a feeling is that? And they're all fucking like linear, and they make sense. And like you go to Thralmar, right? And you get all these quests. You go out there for 2 hours, you come back, turn them all in. I love the way they did these quest hubs in TBC, especially in the Ghostlands and in in the Blood Up zones and then in all of Outland. I love the quality of life that you have when doing these quests. They're so much more clustered together.
I disagree 100%.
What?
Okay, let's hear the hot take.
Give me classic questing. Classic questing is more exploring. It's more open.
There's
world.
more exploring. Maybe,
classic, yes.
But a lot of it is busy work, like running back and forth. Like
yeah,
go
I
to
don't
this
mind that. I
continent,
think
talk
that's
to this
good.
guy. Go to this continent, talk to
I
that
like
guy.
that a lot. I like that a
Oh.
lot. I think
I-
the questing in TBC it's the first time they did the linear thing, and they still do it today. I think it's kind of boring.
How I disagree with you though, the way they do it in TBC is you get to explore each zone more in depth because of the quest hubs, right? So you'll have one quest hub that'll make you go to one portion of the map. You do everything in that portion of the map. Another quest hub will give you that
That's
portion of the
exactly
map.
how retail is. That's exactly how retail.
It is,
retail.
but
Exactly.
I love the fact that because they still have that classic-esque feel of quests, right? Where you have to, read the quest, figure out what to do. It's not like stupid quests where you're kicking fucking
The
skulls and
quests,
shit like
to
that,
piggyback
right?
off what Defcamp is saying, the quests are just fun, folks. They're just
know, that's
fun.
what I'm saying.
You're picking up Fell Hunter
The
turds, man.
Grand quest,
You're-
dude.
Yeah,
Go kill fucking 1,000 of these. I love that shit.
and you get awesome rewards from these quests too.
Yep.
Like you get trinkets and weapons with a bazillion attack power on them. You get it's honestly just such a beautifully crafted zones. Like they honestly put the same level of attention and detail that they did with vanilla into the TBC zones. I genuinely believe that, even though I prefer vanilla pound for pound more than TBC. I always got to hold it down for vanilla. It's just a lot of fun. And speaking on quality of life, let's chime in here, chat. Do you have any quality of life updates in TBC that's not there in Classic? Let me start because I've been playing a little bit, or may or may not be playing a little bit. Mage table, right? 2 people to summon at the stone. 2 people to summon at the stone. 2 people
summoning
to
stones
summon
as well.
Oh yeah,
at
summoning.
dungeons, yeah.
Yeah, just
Yep.
there's that as well. The lock table too. All those things.
Table, mage table.
There's so much more. There's oodles and
Yeah.
oodles more if we
Yeah.
just think about it.
It's definitely easier to get around. It's easier to get stuff done. There's a lot more quality of life. But with that, I think I agree with you. They lose some of the charm. You definitely lose some of the charm, and that's okay. I mean, like I'd rather lose the charm than have world buffs, honestly. Like
That honestly, yeah. But to come back, I really like going back to an old zone, even if you out-leveled it for a couple of levels, or even if a zone has, like in vanilla, you have zones reaching for over 15 levels. Strangled Torn Veil is one of them. I think that's a better design, but it's preference, I suppose.
The good thing though,
it's also,
Dunedain,
you have less levels to work with too.
it's no longer going to be mutually exclusive, my guy. Because I love vanilla too with all my heart, with every fiber of my heart, Dunedain. This game has put a roof over my head. I always will love vanilla, and it's always number 1 for me. But we can actually play both now these days. They're different metas. They coexist. It's so nice, and they're official Blizzard servers too, ideally. So they're not going anywhere or anything like that. So, but I feel you 100% on that.
Same thing in the dungeons, by the way. I prefer BRD over any TBC dungeon, even though I like TBC dungeons.
Yeah.
I still think
I gotta
design
disagree
of
with you there.
BRD
I love BRD and all, but I think the TBC dungeons are, in my opinion, the best dungeons that Blizzard has ever made.
Off the top of your head, Defcamp, guess how many? Guess how many there are. All right,
What
in
is
TBC.
there?
Just guess. You have 5 seconds.
18?
Close actually.
16?
Something like that. It's like 14 or something. I don't even know the right answer. It's
Okay,
like something,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's
like
Don't get me wrong,
16,
I
right?
really
Yeah.
I enjoy TBC dungeons, I enjoy TBC leveling zones. I just think vanilla is slightly better. But yeah, it's a preference.
So, I mean, I love one thing for me is like the one of the most, looking back and seeing, one of the most favorite things to me is going into like Caverns of Time for the first time, doing those Caverns of Time quests. Dungeons. Black Morass is not the best, right? But doing like Durnhold Keep is probably one of my most amazing moments of TBC. Is like doing that for the first time, doing that fucking, and then going in there doing, it might not have been the best raid back in the day, but doing Highjaw for the first time. The dungeons, the Auchendoon dungeons, the slave pens, the ramparts, all these dungeons, you go in there and you feel like you're actually going in there to like fuck these people up. Like where dungeons, like you go into Mardon, you're killing these guys, like why am I killing freaking rock and metals, why am I killing this? No, you're going in there to kill fucking bad orcs, you're going in there to kill demons, you're going in there to kill shit, and you feel like you're going in there as like a real dungeon should feel like in Dungeons and Dragons, and it just feels so much more like your purpose is so much more driven for me. I don't know, I love the feel of the dungeons. I love, and every time you kill a boss, and it just feels so fucking good. I love the feeling. I love heroic dungeons. I love getting the rep, and I even fucking love the.
What is your opinion on badge system too? So personally, before you respond, for me, I like the idea of being able to take my gearing into my own hands. And a lot of times, sometimes it can feel a little bit demoralizing in classic. Like, oh man, I really need like to find a play group and have 39 other humans that deem me worthy of getting like a piece of gear, like where I can rank for like 9 zillion hours and maybe get some gear that way. Like in TBC, you earn badges. You can spend badges and get epic fat purple gear it's actually good, good gear from that reliably, right? You can control that. And then same with working your way up with reputations. There's a lot of reps in TBC, but personally that always appealed to me more than just like having really high barriers to entry to gear.
I don't mind the badge system. I think it's something to work towards. That if you see something that you really think is good, like a certain trinket or paladin shield or whatever, it's really cool to be able to say, oh, I'm going to work towards this, do a bunch of heroics, do the weekly quests, the heroic quests, stuff like that, and be able to work towards something that you might have for a little while, and eventually as TBC goes on, that gear becomes a lot less. But pretty early on when you get something like that and you work towards it, just in the same way you work towards the PvP gear, right? You're working towards something that a lot of people will get a lot of the PvP gear. We used to call them welfare epics back in the day, right? Because you would get basically not doing a raid, you just sit there, and it's not the best gear for raids, but you could use them. But besides that, with the badge system, I think that actually is a pretty good. It's very similar in a way to grinding out rep and being able to buy something with rep in a way.
What's your favorite badge item? You can probably think of one. That's how memorable that shit was.
There's the where was the I remember on the paladin shield. There's so many good things. There was the trinket for healing. I don't remember the names in particular. But...
Favorite badge item, chat. Go. You just off the top of your head. You have one, Dunedain?
Yeah, no. But the thing with the badges is, I honestly don't really like systems like that. But in TBC, I think it's still good, or still decent at least, because it's not overdone. But as soon as a badge system is like the primary thing to get your gear, I don't like it anymore. In TBC, it's more like a few items every now and then you can get with the badges.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
That's okay. It's not amazing to me, but it's okay, and it's something that adds content in a way. But I'd rather just have it drop somewhere if I could choose.
See, I do like the fact that it's only certain things that you can get. Like if it was like everything you can get from the badge system, I think that would be stupid. But I think the fact that there's a couple good items that you can get using the badges, it gives you more of a reason to continue doing heroics and stuff like that, right? So because I love doing heroics so much in TBC that having some kind of system where you can potentially do more of them and get something good, the more heroics I can do, the better, right? Because there's something about going in there as a healer and doing heroic dungeons in TBC is one of my fondest memories. So anything that coincides with that is just really welcoming to me.
More quality of life stuff too. I mean, heroic dungeons are so fun. Like it's just it's the harder dungeon you always wanted. There's that. There's also any PvPers in the house. Like the people that they maybe got really frustrated that they had to raid a lot to get some of the best gear, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in PvP, there's still some stuff that I think is BIS and PvE for TBC, right? I mean, I'm not the biggest brain ever, but
especially
you can
in season 1 with the weapons and stuff like that. Yeah,
you can just do PvP and get your games in and level up multiple characters at the same time. and kind of mess around with different classes, do your 10 games. Is it 10 or 15? I don't know, but I think it's 10, right?
So, you want to get your rating up to a certain, I think it's 10.
Yeah, 10 to get the points,
you have to, when I first started PvPing, I remember it was like a lot of when the first season was out, a lot of the best gear you could get was from a lot of the raids, right? Because a lot of the weapons and stuff. So you get the weapons first, but then as the season starts to progress more, you're utilizing more of just the arena gear and the PvP gear. But like even like some people, like I remember when on my rogue, I only PvP'd on him for a long time, and I did most of my PvE and PvE stuff on my priest. But you can go into like say Karazhan with like a full PvE set, PvP set as long as you have some hit gear and stuff like that. But I do like the separation a little bit more, right? Where you're not like your PvE gear is not your PvP gear, right? To the fullest extent where it was in Vanilla WoW, right? So you have different sets for different things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't like resilience. I thought adding resilience, in that time, in the functionality of how it works, I think is a pretty good thing. The way they added that to the system, and I for one am really looking forward to PvP, and I think even if you do your games whatever, you want to push your rating, you can spend a lot of your time just sitting there doing arenas, pushing rating as much as you can. It's a lot of fun, right? I think and it lets you, this is the time, the game, if you want to do good in PvP, first thing you need to do is understand the other classes, right? And understand what they can do to you. But I think it allows people, when you have this level of PvP and you understand the more of the mechanics that go, I think it really does help in PvE as well, right? Because people are now forced to understand the game in a much more mechanical way, right? So you're learning what each class does. Which
can never hurt you in PvE.
Exactly. What I'm saying is you're learning. You might learn something about another class that you never knew. You might learn something about your own class that you never knew. So you're playing the game in a much more mechanical way, in a much more in-depth way, and it also will give you skills in PvE as well. So anyone who just says out there is like, "Oh, I hate PvP," I would say try it, because there's always something you're going to learn that can help you in PvP as well.
One thing I learned recently too is anybody in the chat think that you never go back to the old world. This was one thing I was concerned about, right? And here's another thing too. You probably heard that you never downrank anymore in TBC. I don't know who made that myth. You actually still do. Yeah, you still downrank in TBC. So these are some classic isms that stick around. Sorry, Melderon, are you saying something? I think I cut you off. It was like...
Sorry, I'm just saying, especially for healing. You're 100% right. Like, downranking is huge.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. That downranking doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, paladins, prot pallies are using multiple ranks of consecration still, and...
Priests are using your... one of your biggest heals is going to be your greater heal rank 1. I mean, it's such an amazing heal.
Even with the downranking penalty.
Even with Oh, right, with the downranking. So like, as a priest, your greater heals. The reason why you're using your greater heal rank 1 so much, considered like flash and stuff like that, is because as a priest, your greater heal can proc clear casting, right? And as a healer, having clear casting is like the most amazing fucking thing. Makes your next greater heal ability, be able to be 100% free mana cost, and that's like one of the most amazing things as a healer is hearing that fucking ching proc, the clear casting proc. And I think healing becomes even way more in depth in TBC, especially as a priest, right? Where you now have things like a binding heal, right? Which is a heal that heals you and the target that you're targeting. Prayer of mending, circle of healing. With no fucking cooldown on it, like the amount of raid heal you can do, it's another smart heal added to the game. I think shamans are probably the healers that change the least from classic to TBC, right? Maybe other than
paladins don't change that.
Paladins don't change much either, but druids and priests change substantially.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to see some enhancement shaman love too, right? You really love to see that one, folks. I mean, because everyone loves enhancement shamans, kind of like to a degree, like they're just cool as hell. But in vanilla, it's rough. It's rough for the enhancement shaman. The ret dream is more viable than the enhanced shaman dream, kind of. I mean, I think it is, right?
If you talk to the enhancement shaman Discord, they'll disagree with that.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. You also get a lot of stuff from the totems, Kargoz. So like,
if you're twisting and stuff.
What are the? Because you're gonna have probably an enhancement for the melee group, right, Melderon?
Kargoz talking about classic.
Oh yeah, I was talking about classic. I don't know. I mean, maybe enhance is better than I thought, but I see so many shamans that are just demoralized that they just have no shot at enhancement.
I can't wait. That's probably primarily what I'm going to be doing on my shaman.
Dual wield enhance, bro. It's gonna be good. That's another one. But oh man, there's so many things. I mean, there's a ton of dungeons. I thought of something. what would you guys want them to have it not be like how it was before and have it just be Karazhan for a good amount of time and then do another raid tier?
Yes. I think we absolutely need the time gate. Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
I was thinking
I don't know.
that exact thing.
I think most people agree with that. That
so,
time gating is the way to go because obviously we're gonna have people that are gonna be able to clear. You know, you're gonna have some people with fucking tier 5 on while where people are still going through. You know, it's not gonna be good if you have some people who are clearing, you know, shit that was cleared months and months after in TBC. So time
Also,
gating, I think, is definitely the way to go.
I think it would make us have more content because I feel like if you open it up, then people might just skip Karazhan, the hardcore guild.
People are gonna rush. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a shame, really, because it's such a beautiful dungeon.
Yep. And it just gives each items, like it gives a bunch of items more time in the sun, right? And it stretches it out, and I don't know. I see that as a good thing. I'm trying to think about what the downside would be to that.
I haven't heard anyone argue against time gating, so I think everyone's pretty much on the same page for that.
Well, they're probably not going to do it though. If it's par for the course with Classic, it'll just be how it was before. So maybe if Blizzard's listening,
I don't know. A lot of people are asking for time gating content, so we'll see. I don't think it's that much of a hard thing to do, right? It's like you just time. Yeah. So it's the reason why it worked back then is because no one. Like it took people so much longer to get through the content and get the attunements. People are gonna get the attunements done in a couple days. You know what I mean? This time around, and it's gonna happen so much faster. So if Blizzard is listening, you know, please, I think almost everyone I've talked to in the community, you know, whether they're people who make guides, or whatever, are in favor of time gating content.
Yeah,
it's a very important thing, I think, for TPC.
Yeah. And just you have to get the pacing right, you know, because some people do get frustrated when there's a lack of content. But I don't think there's going to be a lack of content in TBC if you compare it to Classic, because there's Arena guys. You have to understand that it's not going to be like in Classic. You would be frustrated, like, come on, we need the new raid already. I need something to do. But there's always going to be Arena to like fill in the gaps too for people. So it is a different animal. Another thing people are talking about in the chat, and I'm curious your thoughts, chat too. Let me know how you feel about leatherworking. A lot of people are doomers about leatherworking, saying like, oh man, you know, like having to have one profession, that's kind of scuffed. Like you know, if you're going to be in a serious raid, because if anybody doesn't know about this in TBC, drums give you like almost a mini bloodlust type effect. Well, there's different types of drums in TBC, but the drums are good enough. They're good enough in TBC that if you're in a serious raiding guild, you're going to be required to have drums. But my take on it is the drums feel good when you use them. When you see the buff, it's kind of nice. And you could always just have an alt with whatever professions you want as well. You don't have to have, you know, on your main the exact professions you want. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I know Dunedain cares a lot about professions.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. But I think there's solutions like make it not just for yourself, or make it have a debuff like Forbearance has. Stuff like that. They shouldn't entirely remove the drums, but they should make it so it's not as powerful. I think this is something that should be changed, and if I could make one change to TBC, it would probably be leatherworking and the drums.
I agree.
Really? Yeah. That's your one change? Oh wow.
Yeah, I agree, dude. Kargoz, I think putting Tinnitus or like a sated cooldown on drums would potentially. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's going to be.
People don't like to not have choices.
Yeah,
right? And I feel like if everyone almost felt like they had to be a warrior in Classic. Not everyone, but like people did, right? Thank God people didn't play warrior, else we wouldn't be able to do raids. But like the fact that everyone has to have, pretty much everyone has to have. Well, that too. Look at World Buffs, right? Everyone has to have them if you want to be considered serious. So that the fact that every single person is going to have the same profession, I don't know, man. It just seems really feels bad. Really feels bad. Yeah, I don't know.
And the thing is, there is precedence for them putting Tinnitus in the, because I believe we were talking to Willie about it when we had him on the show. He was talking about how there was precedence where they actually were going to put Tinnitus in TBC. So it's not something that's just coming out of the blue. It's actually something that was talked about being implemented, and I believe it was implemented in Wrath.
It was.
Yeah. So it's something that was talked about, like how the change that we got for hunters towards the end of Classic here with the addition of the attack power bonus going getting it the Attack My Brothers from like
Rand
Rand and from the Ani buff and stuff. So I think there is a precedent for it, and I think that there is a possibility of it coming into our TBC.
But the only upside is that it just gives people more profession and flexibility, right? Is that really important to people? People really like that a lot. Yeah.
It just makes it so that less people need to be leather. Like there's only a certain amount of people that can get the buff if there's a debuff that you get from it, right? So,
but you would rather that than do the Seal of Blood change or anything like that? That's a question for the chat, guys. If you had
I would,
one change
because
chat
there's
to
a
TBC,
precedent
what would it
for
be?
as well.
Yeah, what would be your one change chat?
Thing is, there's something else with the drums. I don't exactly know. I just picked it up in guild chat actually. Is it cleft hoof leather that's needed?
For drums? Yeah, I think so.
Not high. Yeah.
Something like that.
Anyway, any one of those letters that you need is probably gonna be pretty rare because there's apparently only like 15 mobs dropping it. I might be wrong though. I just picked that up from guild chat, but if that's true, then that will mean if this is gonna be the meta for all guilds, it's gonna be extremely expensive, and that's something we just didn't like in Classic, to have those very expensive rates on consumables.
Are you reading these comments, Kargoz? On it. So one person said, "Who cares about Rets?" The one in the raid, and then you got so one person said seals. One person says dual spec.
Dual spec.
I would remove the bots. No flying mounts.
Well, one thing you have to understand, chat. In TBC, yes, they don't make it dual spec, but the cost of a spec change is really not that much in TBC because you make gold so fast that just like 50 gold is like nothing in TBC. Like I don't know how much gold you make when you do like a heroic or something, but I don't know. I did some heroic or some dungeons yesterday, and I had like a couple hundred gold randomly. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's very easy to change. But one thing I want to say, when people say no flying mounts, you have to realize that if you ask for no flying mounts, you're also asking for a complete change in so many restructuring the map, right? It's not just that easy to just say no flying mounts. Then that means you have to add like an elevator to every zone that has to be able to get there, from to the eye to the dungeons, up in to
the Netherwing
and to the Elemental Plateau and so many different things. So I understand when people say I don't think flying mounts is that big of a deal because it's it's only in the flying mounts in that zone. I don't think it's something that should be changed. I think it's came in TBC. A lot of people think it's not good, whatever. But I think in the whole scheme of things, I don't think it's that big of an issue.
So yours leatherworking is your one change. That's Dunedain's too.
Yes, but I was thinking, what do you guys think about shaman swapping to get bloodlust in the same pumper group all the time?
So you mean the ability to move shamans and give them class bloodlust? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no sated for bloodlust. You can just keep.
Yeah, that was changed in Wrath as well. Sated, that's a big one. I think that has more potential detriment because I feel that then I think that the class structure would change so much, or would it? Because you still need totals.
I don't think it would change a little bit. You would just bloodlust, the different groups, I guess, instead. But
I'm talking about the people you would take to raid.
Right.
Like,
you could have a little more freedom.
I guess you still take 3, 4. Now you take 5 shamans, right? I think if
you would take 5 optimally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could go with 3 shamans for all DPS groups and leave it at that. Don't put the shaman in the healer group, something like that. If they put forbearance on bloodlust.
Would that be the same as someone saying no Wind Fury in Classic though? What if there's some people that raid TBC and this is what they like about TBC? Like that's the spirit of TBC, being able that's the meta as a raid. You're swapping in shamans, you're popping drums. That's part of the skill and rotation of it. That's just like kind of the spirit of TBC raiding. Just in the same sense that there's some aspects of the spirit of vanilla raiding they don't like world buffs and how melee favorite is and stuff. Maybe that adds to the experience for some people for TBC.
Yeah.
You're just like shifting it.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. But if Dunedain's right, if it's leather that comes from only 15 mobs in the game, like that's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible.
I don't know if it's 15. There's more than 15.
Yeah, that's what people in the guild said. I should have probably double checked it.
Yeah. They respawn pretty quickly as well. I mean, but you always see people farming the Cleft Hoof. It was pretty bad in TBC. Like, there was always people farming it, but it wasn't, like, horrible. Like from what
When you say
Now it's more known though.
types of mobs, or do you mean
Right.
15 actual spawns?
They said 15 actual spawns. If
Wow.
that's true, then you have
I thought there were more than that,
mafias
but-
coming up. and-
Cleft Hoof Leather, the Black Lotus of the Burning Crusade.
But yeah, it's 4 thick cleft hoof leather and 6 heavy knot-hide for the drums of battle, which is the
Knot-hide is easy to get. It's the
right.
cleft.
So the
Yeah.
cleft hoof. So when I remember, I think there are more than 15 spawns, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, there's Cleft Hoofs all over
but
the Grand.
Cleft hoof leather is only available in the Grand, obviously, and only available in certain places in the Grand for where the cleft hoof spawn. But I do believe it is more than 15. I would hope that it is.
They're all over the zone. It's got to be the Knothide. I forgot what drops Knothide, but the Cleft Hoof is everywhere in the Grand. Isn't it? They're just all over the entire zone. They just pat around.
Yeah, it should
Well,
be more
yeah.
indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's one. The main place where people farm them is the area right outside the Horde base. There's a huge amount of cleft hoof in that area there. I'm trying to remember. The other one is more towards the
Gyarados on the belt.
Gyarados, yeah.
Yeah. You know, one thing I've been learning too, that mages are actually pretty OP in TBC, and that even
Oh
on,
my god,
like-
they are amazing in PvP and PvE. They have the highest skill cap in PvP as well.
Guess. Okay, so I asked some big brains in TBC chat. Guess the top 3 DPS. Just this is a generalization, right? There's always going to be like something to say to counter it, but just generally speaking, top 3 DPS, pound for pound, full bis or whatever comes to mind, man. In what order? Let me see what you guys have to say.
In
'cause
what
I'm-
tier? In what tier though? Because it depends on what tier we're talking about. We're talking about like
Man, just
average out through the whole
early game,
expansion.
late game. Just go like right on fresh and then right at
Early
the end,
game
yeah.
Hunter is very good without like if they're just using like dungeon blues and stuff like that, Hunters are going to be number 1. But if they have like tier 4,
Guess what number
then it
2 is
starts
though.
to change. What's that? Number 2?
Guess what number 2 is.
Either mage or warlock.
Warlock, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, most people are going to
Maybe-
say Warlock and Hunter at the top, right? I swear, a lot of the big brains are saying Mage number 2. It's going to be Hunter, Mage, Warlock. You never hear
That's
that.
possible. Yeah. I think mages come up a little bit more towards late game, from what I remember. Yeah.
Is that because of Arcana and the kill times or something?
Yeah,
Is that
and-
why?
They're already super strong apparently right now in private servers, and everything is super buffed, right?
Yeah.
Strong.
Right,
But
right.
in classic TBC, if it's going to be way weaker, then mages are going to be even better. And that was already one thing I learned. Remember, they say, oh, there's an AoE cap. Mages are going to suck at AoE now compared to Warlock. Well, they still can downrank the Flame Strike, and then but the most
Oh, yeah.
important thing that affects it is that they have threat reduction on Arcane, right? So they can actually Arcane Explosion and use
Mhm.
Icy Veins and the other thing that they have. So every few minutes, they just have the most DPS, AoE DPS than nobody can touch them every few minutes.
Yeah.
with-
If I
with
remember
power
correctly, Kargoz, tier 5 is when mages really start to pump and potentially get higher even sometimes than warlocks. The thing is, like, once a warlock is like hit capped and shit like that, like they can do an obscene amount of damage. So can hunters, even with like okay gear. But once you start getting mages geared up in their tier, I think tier 5 was like the set that was really amazing for arcane. You really start to see arcane mages just blow up off the charts, and a lot of times you'll see like one arcane mage is just number 1 DPSing all the time.
Mm-hmm. I just
That's
never
how it
thought
worked
that
for us,
mages
yeah.
could be better than Warlock in TBC. Like, you never hear that, right? But I'm telling you, some of the sharpest minds of TBC predict that mages will even have more. And that's a little feels bad because I want to play Warlock, but
I think on average warlocks will do better, but I think so. Here's what I think, right? You're gonna have like probably like 4 warlocks, and I would say like you're gonna see like this is how I used to see in our guild all the time. It would be like you have our number 1 DPS was like always our arcane mage. Then like number 2 was a hunter. Then it was like a warlock, another hunter, a warlock. Then like the rest of the mages. But there was always like one mage that did more DPS than every fucking one. That's how it was in our guild.
That's probably how it's going to be in TBC too.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think because there's gonna be more warlocks because I think it's just like generally understood that warlocks are really good and they have a 1-button rotation essentially.
Because they're also so good in they're also amazing in AoE. They're also amazing in PvP, and mages are amazing in PvP as well. But the thing is that mages take, I would say, the highest skill cap of awareness of play in the highest echelons of PvP. Like
more so than
things,
Resto Druid?
What's that?
More so than Resto Druid? You think?
Oh my god, Resto Druid is not as hard as you think. So there's like really good Resto Druids that have an amazing high skill cap, and then you have that average Resto Druid, right? But I 100% believe that the highest echelon of skill cap in PvP is a mage, 100%. Knowing, you have so many things added now. You have so many different things that you have to worry about, whether it's CC, spell steal. There's just, I believe, the most amount of thought process and things going on. Yes, Resto Druid can be difficult at times, but once you have that down, I've played Resto Druid and messed around with it, right? Going out of form and this and the other isn't that difficult once you have it down. CCing and this and the other. I feel like mages definitely have the highest skill cap in PvP. I would Rogue is up there as well. A really good Rogue is definitely up there as well, Emil. But I believe that Mage has the highest skill cap in Arena. From what I've played with, I used to 2v2 Rogue Mage, and that right there was some of the most fun I ever had, because the amount of control that you can have. You could just dominate.
That was the first. That was the first comp I ever got 2K with. Was my roommate. Rogue Mage. I got the shoulders and the weapons. Was like the best feeling.
Were you playing
ever.
Mage or?
I was playing Mage, Troll Mage,
I was playing
which
Rogue,
is shitty in hindsight. You got to play.
Shout
like
out to
undead.
Sincore. I don't know whatever happened to you, brother, but he was a Jernai Mage, and I was Alliance back then as well, and we I think we hit up to like 23 with him.
Damn.
And then right below, we were around 22. And then on my priest, once I started doing 3v3, I did 2v2 and 3v3 with my priest. I got up to like 2300 with him. But the most fun I ever had was with that mage, doing the road mage 2v2 in season 1 and season 2. So that was absolutely insane. This 2v2 was like the king back then in season 1.
I love 2v2, man. I know it's kind of a meme right now in retail, but I love it so much.
That one-on-one comradeship that you have with just, because you get in the other head of that person and you guys think on the same wavelength. But 3v3, it's a little bit more, right? But that 2v2, that dance that you have with the person is just, it's fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah. What about you, Melderon? Your one change to TBC, if you could. I don't know if we ever got an answer. I kept interrupting you.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of leaning on the tinnitus thing for drums. But I also would like to see... I'd like to see something addressed to increase alliance numbers. I don't know how that would be, but it has to be super careful, because like we've been talking about, like, alliance is fucking good in arena, and people who think that don't think that are not looking at the
Oh thing. Yeah, no, 100%.
You can't just broad sweep and be like, everyone gets this and everyone gets that. It's got to be super. Like, if they gave Alliance Paladin Seal of Blood, like, I could care less, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it would be that big of a deal.
I don't care, dude. Like,
no, but it would have a big deal on the population, though. I think. What do you think? What do you think, Chat? If they gave Alliance Seal of Blood, or what if they just changed Seal of Vengeance so that it did the same thing as Seal of Blood? I don't know, because there would be something kind of anti-RP about giving. Because Seal of Blood is supposed to be, it's so Blood Elf, right?
Yeah, blood elf, exactly. Yeah.
It might shift the population.
Give it to them eventually. Did they not? Did they not give Red Paladin Seal of Blood eventually? In Wrath, right?
Yeah.
So it's not. So. It's like they gave it to them anyway in Wrath. So.
It might shift the population by 20%. Is that too much?
Here's the thing, exactly, Kargoz. I think it would shift the population the most with doing the least amount of harm.
Yes.
To the environment.
Now, Blood Fury, that's going to be tough. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's I don't know how they're gonna.
Like, people are gonna get mad if you nerf something, right? But if you just give something to the other, maybe they won't get as mad, right? Like, imagine if they nerf Blood Fury, people would be so mad. I think I'll be actually kind of pissed if they just randomly were like, you know what, Blood Fury's too strong. Fuck it, 5-minute cooldown. People would be.
What about just leaving it as it is and just make sure there's some gating system, so you can only have maximum 60% of one faction on a server, and otherwise you have a queue. It's not a big deal if you have 60-40 and just leave everything as it was.
Yeah, I mean, the faction queue is the best.
Fine to me, dude. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah, faction queue, because a queue is enough to make somebody play the other faction. Yes or no,
Absolutely.
Chat?
I agree.
If I had to wait in a queue for 1 hour to play, I would play the other faction. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have those hard-headed people like myself. I'm like, I'm not going to fucking Alliance. You know what I mean? Like, because obviously my guild's forward and everything like that. But you're gonna have those people who are gonna say, "Fuck this! I don't have the time to deal with this. I don't care how zug I am. I'm going to play, the lesser of the two."
Yeah. Or you could give every Alliance. You could give every Alliance player 10k gold and an Ashes of Valar.
But correct me if I'm wrong here. This is an issue that's also plaguing retail, right? Like Horde's the best in retail for years, right? Hasn't it been that way?
Didn't they address a lot of this stuff with the Woodland factions?
It was really bad in BFA. I thought like Horde was super like overpowered.
That's what
I
they
thought
said.
I don't know. I know they were trying to address that with the what's the name factions? The what do they call the friend the new
Oh
people?
yeah.
Whatever they're called.
But I mean, now who wants to play Horde when you have you have friggin' foxes, whatever the hell, on your team? So
Volpera, right? That's Kargoz' main is Volpera.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Wait, Kargoz?
What's that?
Volpera main.
Volpera, right?
Yeah, I'm playing a Volpera Death Knight rating Mythic Plus right now. I really am enjoying it immensely. I just love my Fairy Dragon transmog. I wear it every day and I dance on mailboxes. I can't cast that yet. I'm not hating on retail, man. I'm just joking around, but yeah, fucking.
No, I know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is this has been a problem recently too. It's not just TBC that there's been faction issues, right? This has been something that's definitely been plaguing Warcraft for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that the Horde is the cooler faction, and people want to play with the cool people. It's just that simple. Yeah.
If you have to state that, then there's definitely something wrong in that statement.
It was a joke. All right. That's the problem. You Alliance don't understand sarcasm.
But if I got it right, Kargoz is joining the Alliance in TBC.
It's possible, man. I'm so conflicted now. I thought every time I get some clarity, then I may or may not be playing an Orc Hunter right now, and I am freaking loving it, dude. Like, got my Don Santos cannon. Remember that weapon?
Oh yeah, dude.
Man, dude, I'm pumping right now. I'm still in greens, but
Hunters do insane damage in Kara. Like when everyone else is still rocking blues and dungeon shit, they're just fucking slapping the meters, dude.
Yeah. There's so much quality of life with Hunter. It's just awesome. I'm super excited for TBC. Like, honestly, man, we're going to have a really fun year or two ahead of us.
2021 is going to be fucking awesome, dude. I really think so. I am so excited for TBC that I actually dream about it. I'm not even kidding.
As far as stuff to do, just like stuff you can do and have like a really fun time in TBC. I love Classic to death. It's always my number one. But I do think there's probably like 50% more stuff you can do in TBC.
Yeah.
It's just in terms of...
What do you think about the future of hardcore in TBC? Do you think that... so let me ask you a question. If a fresh Classic comes and a fresh TBC doesn't, right? Are you going to want to play hardcore more on TBC or on Classic? Like, what is... if there's only a fresh Classic and not a fresh TBC.
Yeah, if there's not a fresh TBC... that's a good question. I know we're going to continue the hardcore stuff into TBC and see how it goes, because one thing that is kind of exciting is the whole leveling meta, because TBC isn't known to be like an iteration of the game that's known for its insane leveling experience, like it's at least in the old world. So
getting killed by Fell Hunter and shit,
Oh, I guess in the Outlands.
Can you imagine someone getting killed by Fell Reaver at like level 69 or something?
People are going to die to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to keep it going, do the cups, continue all that stuff, and see how it goes. I do think, this is my hot take, that eventually, after the dust settles, maybe a year from now, like, people, if they look back at TBC and Classic, some people will prefer Classic over TBC. So, just because there is a lot to love with Classic, right? It's just that we played it for the past year and a half. Like, I mean...
Right.
Like, nothing hits the same as Classic Warrior. Like, it's kind of a beautiful thing to see them do massive damage, like... And just, the old world of the Barons and Mulgore and...
Also, if we get 2.4.3, that is when a lot of things change for the leveling process. The XP needed has been nerfed, correct? So I actually think in 2.4.3, it's actually easier to level, I think, to 1 to 70 than it is in 1.12, 1 to 60, if I'm not mistaken. Or quicker, I should say. Less experience needed.
Say that one more time?
In 1.12, in the iteration that we're playing right now in Classic, is it not more difficult and more XP needed than it is to get to 1 to 70 in 2.4.3?
That's correct.
Right.
So it's after like level 20, I believe, is where the nerf comes in. So like at level 20 or something like that, Navik will know this. That's when the nerf comes in. Yeah.
So not to mention you could get your mount at level 30. That'll play a big.
Mount at 30. There's new flight paths. And also,
that is 2.4.3. If we get 2.4.3, it'll be mount at level 30. So there's those things, Kargoz, that I think really have to weigh into the whole experience. you know, I would love. I think it's awesome to do that, you know, 60-70 grind as well. But it, in all, might be a more difficult process in the classic world where it takes more XP. Although a lot of people are going to want those new questing experiences in TBC, so I think you're going to see both. Honestly, I think you're going to see people who want the hardcore in TBC and the hardcore vanilla.
Here's the thing. So there is a, you know, has anybody played on a server that had like 5x or 3x experience? You probably have in the past at some point, right? So this was way back like months ago. I was playing on the server that had 5x XP. I was dual leveling with Navik, and I'm not gonna lie, the pacing of the content felt so good, even at 5x. Like, I don't want 5x, but all I'm saying is there's a chance with TBC that the overall experience of a hardcore run, 1 to 70, just the pacing of the content all the way up, it could feel pretty damn good. You're getting really awesome rewards from quests, and it's just a bit faster, right? Getting up there through the 1 to 60 part, so you can make more characters.
Don't you out-gear a lot of your stuff really quickly though? Like, don't you like out? So my worry is that it becomes a little bit more dangerous, right? Because you get to like level 30 with like level 15 gear, and now your chance of dying is higher.
That's true, but you get way powerful gear. Like, I'll never forget, I did In Defense of King's Lands, you know, that Trog quest in Lochmadan. I mean, you're a horde player, but you probably remember it, right? And I did this random quest, and it gave me like a ring with like 9 spell power on it and 4 int, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, at level 15 or something, you're getting spell power.
Wow.
Yeah, I did that as well. I was leveling with
Wait, that's
wasn't it you guys I was
No,
leveling
in
with?
TBC it gives you that really good
Was I leveling
rewards.
with you guys on my dwarf?
You did, yeah, for a second.
Yeah.
You
I was
remember
with you
that?
guys. I remember that.
Yep, you were actually there. That's funny, man.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so that I do.
So they added a different gear too in TBC for leveling.
Yep, they changed it, so it's really powerful, the leveling gear. And then they also made all those open world areas that are really strong. Like if you think of the ogres in the top right of Lochmadan, they're all normal. They might have carved out a few exceptions, like for your boy Hogger or something like that, just because he's kind of like a special NPC. But for the most part, all those elite places are normal.
That sucks.
Well, that brings me back to the question though, Kargoz. Is it more difficult in Classic then?
I have no idea. We'll see.
Right, because like you're not getting a lot of those really big upgrades. You still have all these mobs that are elites, and I think mobs are, you know, there's so many differences, and I think something to look forward to, right, is like the difference between Classic Hardcore and TBC Hardcore is going to be pretty substantial, and I think it's something that there's going to be a lot of play with and a lot of things to look forward to. And I think there's you know, who knows, Blizzard might even bring out a friggin' hardcore realm for Classic or something like that. That would be you know, with fresh realms. But,
oh my god, yeah. There's a fingers
crossed.
Yeah, I
know, yeah.
Fingers crossed. Well,
that
let's
would be amazing.
start the process of wrapping up. If you guys have questions in the chat, like, we can try again. Yeah, no promises. We're pretty silo-minded sometimes, but you know, we could talk about this stuff for hours. It's just flowing, right? TBC is on the horizon. I'm super excited. Do you guys have any kind of closing thoughts for the people? We have about 1,200, 1,300 people watching right now, which is amazing.
Oh, wow.
We're not washed up. GMA is still a thing, guys. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't you go first, Dunedain?
Wait. I don't have anything in particular at the moment.
I just want to say, like, you know, as like wrapping up, looking forward to TBC is, you know, anyone who potentially maybe stopped playing in vanilla, got sick of the whole, you know, maybe the world buff meta, or just didn't like certain things about it. I would say this: TBC is a whole new animal. If you're like, you don't like retail, you don't like classic, or maybe there's things about both that you like, TBC has the answer to so many people's problems. I think where there's so much more to do, there's so much more fun to be had. There's the PvP meta, there's the PvE meta, there's dungeons to do with your friends, there's heroic dungeons. I think there's so much more for each individual person to do in TBC, that if you got bored in vanilla, or if you got bored in retail, whatever, TBC could definitely be the answer for you. So I'm just so excited because I think there's something for everyone in TBC. I fucking love it. This is the iteration of the game that is my favorite. I love classic and everything like that, but TBC is always my favorite. So I am really looking forward to it. And I would say anyone out there who did not potentially maybe like vanilla, or had, you know, different things about it, please come back for TBC and give it a shot. This is going to be fucking amazing, boys.
Hell yeah, well said, Defcamp. And Melderon, anything?
Yeah, just like, I don't know. I just hope that I just think it's a great time to be alive, man. I mean, like, coronavirus sucks and everything, but like we got to play this game, and we're gonna probably have classic and TBC and in the same time. That's huge, right? That's a big thing, and I honestly I didn't think this was ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great. I think that this is the greatest time to be a WoW player, and if you like retail, retail's good apparently, so that's good. You know, like, yeah, looking forward to TBC. Like, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being able to play differently. Hopefully, have less people in the raid, which I think is great. I think there's some, not that that's great to say goodbye to people, but it's just a lot less headache. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I will say that, yeah, to piggyback off what you said, a few years ago, legacy servers in any official capacity were just a pipe dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, we have at least Classic right now, and very, very likely TBC. And like, I agree with you, man. People say maybe they had more fun back in the day, and they're nostalgic about it. I'm having more fun with WoW than I ever did back then. I didn't know what I was doing back then that much, and a lot of us have known each other now and become friends over the past years. So that's been just such a joy. TBC, guys, you would think it's an expansion pack, right? How much does an expansion pack change a game? Normally, typically, maybe 10%, 15% more content. The more and more I'm learning about TBC, it's a radically different game, I would argue. Like, so much changes in TBC. It's actually kind of insane. For an expansion pack, I would say upwards of 50% of the game, maybe more, changes with TBC. The whole meta is different. All the talents are different. Not every single one, but it's a really, really different feeling playing TBC, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
So, Dunedain, anything? You would shout Fellowship or
I
something?
said it, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. Arena is gonna be the thing I look forward to spend. Well, let's put it this way. In Classic, at some point you start trade logging, or at least play less. And I think in TBC you always will have Arena to fall back on, so it just gives an endless amount of extra content, which is really enjoyable and good for the game. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to going there with the Fellowship and the people we played together with for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Actually, Guild was formed over 2 years ago, I think. So
Same,
it's amazing.
Dude.
Yeah.
And even if you're not a PvP person, there's heroics. You know what I mean? There's heroic dungeons. There's so much more to do. You can try working on getting your Nether Drake, right? There's just like so many things to do. Even if you're not a PvP person, if you're just a PvE person. So I really look forward to sharing this adventure with you guys. I recently started streaming again too, so I'm back to that now and doing it with you guys and being able to share it with the community. It's a lot of fun. So
Hell yeah, man.
Wait. Yeah.
Been having a lot of viewerships, all eyes on Skyrim. You have 400 or 500 people watching you clear out Naxx.
We're clearing Naxx, and I was not expecting to have that amount of people, so I really appreciate it. And it's just I want to get back to streaming more. I've only been streaming like 2-3 days a week. I'm trying to get back slowly back into streaming more regularly. So you've been definitely an inspiration for me, Kargoz. You've been doing really well, man.
Oh, hell, I appreciate it, man.